let's not minimize that. There we go. It says we are live, so good evening, ladies and germs. We are filling in for the Ellis, the Ella Hatfield, aka Ellis, who is under the weather this evening, so we are not having the show over on his channel. About the time Ellis messaged me saying that he wasn't going to be able to do the show, Kingpin and I were already texting back and forth about something else. And I was like, hey, Ellis is sick. You want to do the show? And Kingpin's like, sure, let's do it. So here we are. And speaking of which, we have with me tonight as a special guest on the wrestling show, the one and only Kingpin. How are you tonight?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, I'll be able to keep up with you on the wrestling end of things.
Yeah, well, like I said pre-show, we don't necessarily have to keep it to wrestling. I mean, it's something to do. We can talk and.
I did have an idea of where we could start off on the wrestling idea,
Okay.
and we could expand it to top notch, like top billing main event rivalries, not just like regular every week, but just main event rivalries, and maybe even start off with like an Iron Sheik versus Hulk Hogan kind of deal.
Yeah, Sheik was a transitional champion because back then they did not like having faces going against faces and villains going against villains. So they would have what they called a transitional champion, where you would have a heel or a face who wasn't going to hold the belt for long, just long enough to get it to the next guy, and that's where Iron Sheik fell into. He was the transition between Bob Backlund and Hulk Hogan because they didn't want to put Backlund versus Hogan because you would have face versus face.
Yeah, and even the Bob Backlund versus Iron Sheik, if you look at the Iron Sheik's matches, he always dominated a lot more than Bob Backlund did. Bob Backlund always had like a fight on his hands. And then if you just match up the two men, the Iron Sheik was massive compared to Bob Backlund. So if you put and then Hulk Hogan was kind of massive to the Iron Sheik. So how could you have a 9 foot, 300 pound Hulk Hogan fighting a 5 foot, 100 pound Bob Backlund?
Well, you
And
had Bret Hart fighting Yokozuna.
What's that?
Said they had Bret Hart fighting Yokozuna.
Yeah, but Bret Hart was a different generation. He was a high flyer, big bulky muscle guy, different kind of stuff like that. Bob Backlund, like you were saying, was that old school, I just got off work and now I'm here to wrestle night kind of guy.
Yeah, Bob Backlund was a accomplished amateur wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, so is the Iron Sheik. Did you know that prior to going into pro wrestling, the Iron Sheik was one of the coaches for the U.S. men's Olympic wrestling team?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when he immigrated and became from Iran before the Iran, this was well before the Iranian Revolution. He, I think it was 72. And then 76, he was one of the coaches for the U.S. men's Olympic team.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I didn't know that.
And he still never learned to speak English properly. He's a trip, though, man. Have you ever actually seen him in videos and stuff where he posts a video up on Twitter?
The Iron Sheik?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's a maniac, dude.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
he's a big Trump supporter, too, which is funny. You hear him going, Trump number one! Trump number one! Biden, but two. That's the whole bit. I don't know if you've seen that video or not. It's freaking hilarious.
Well, and that's that's one of the things that expect like using Iron Sheik and Hulk Hogan, but just the Iron Sheik for the villain type of deal. You don't have that character development in wrestling anymore. Like even the bad guys doesn't put the fear into people. Like when Iron Sheik would come out to the ring, people would be like, "Oh man, Hulk's in trouble," or "Oh man, this guy's bad. He's tough. He's mean." Oh boo boo. Now you don't really got that. You got I don't know. I'm not.
That depends on what federation you're talking about. If you're talking WWE, you're absolutely right. WWE does not do that, right? They tried doing that with The Fiend, which is Bray Wyatt wearing the mask designed by makeup special effects expert Tom Savini. He's done all kinds of horror movies, including the original Night of the Living Dead. That's where he got his start, was doing Night of the Living Dead. He's also done comic books, but they tried doing that with the Fiend, and people started cheering him, so they dialed him back. And I was never a fan of the supernatural aspect, and with the Undertaker and stuff. I never cared about that, right? But they had something with the Fiend, even though I didn't like the supernatural and all that crap. But they ruined it because of the fact that people were, instead of seeing him as being the monster that people should be afraid of, people were cheering him. I don't know. So I don't know necessarily. And it wasn't that they were building him to be cheered. They were building him as the monster that people should be afraid of, right? I think culture's changed as well, and that's part of the problem.
They had it. I think that I disagree with you a little bit. The supernatural angle was working with Undertaker because you could have him as a villain or you could have him as your hero, and it didn't really matter, because he wrestled everybody.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I didn't care for it. I'm not
Oh,
saying
no, I understand.
I didn't.
Yeah, I understand your point. I'm just talking about like the general idea. What do you think about? I think that they really, really failed at the villain with Triple H. When they made him more of like a corporate Vince McMahon toady to become the villain, I think that's really where the bottom fell completely out.
It's possible, but I think the bottom was starting to fall off before that, because even if you look at the Attitude Era in WWE, even the villains were more tweeners because the fans would cheer for who they wanted to at that point. There was no boo the bad guy and cheer the face in WWE at that point. Your main rivalry at that point, particularly in the later stages, was The Rock versus Austin, and neither one of those guys were booked as a true face.
Right, yeah.
And so I'm saying, I think a lot of the problem is that the culture was starting to change. And you didn't, I mean, crying out loud, man, when we were kids, you go to a movie theater and you watch one of the Friday the 13th movies and people were cheering for Jason to kill the people.
All right, yeah.
I think that's what we started start happening with pro wrestling, at least in the WWE at that point. I mean, and even in WCW, you would get it too, because people were cheering for the NWO. When the NWO first appeared, people were throwing garbage at them. By the time they finally broke up the NWO because of it being overdone, there were people in the NWO that were getting cheered as though they were the biggest face in the company.
Well, I mean, really, I think from a marketing standpoint, turning Hulk Hogan into instead of the blonde, the black hair, and becoming the NWO bad guy, I think that was a big mistake too. Now, obviously, you couldn't bring Hulk Hogan in to the different federation and have him all USA and eat your prayers and say your vitamins like he was in the other one, but going hardcore right to the biker bad guys scene, I think they made a mistake doing that.
No, see, I don't, because that actually, at that time period, WCW was on the decline. They were minutes away from declaring bankruptcy. Somebody came up with the idea, let's turn Hogan. And about that same time, they had signed Nash and Hall. Nobody knew it. Nobody knew they had signed Nash and Hall. You didn't have the internet like you do now. Today, they would never have been able to pull off the NWO like they did back then at the very beginning of it, because now it'll be instantly on every dirt sheet on the internet. Every YouTube wrestler channel would have that on there. But back then, they could pull it off. So you had Hall and Nash, who nobody knew was signed, coming in, making it look like it was an invasion angle, right? Because, again, nobody knew that Hall and Nash had been signed except for the bigwigs. There were wrestlers in the back that have come out and said, like Diamond Dallas Page, that they didn't know that they had signed Hall and Nash. Nobody knew. They thought that they were just buying a ticket, coming in and being troublemakers, because they had tried doing that before. So that's what they thought was going on. And then all of a sudden, you had them where they debuted on one of the shows as the Outsiders, which is why they got the name Outsiders, by the way, because they were the outsiders invading. And they wrestled a couple of matches as a tag team and won the tag belts. Next thing you know, Hogan turns heel. And that got people's attention. Because Hogan was, last time Hogan had been a heel, Jimmy Carter was in the White House.
Well, yeah, Hogan kind of started his career that way, right?
Yeah. So when they had Hogan turn heel, people our generation were too young to remember Hogan being a heel. Hogan had always been the baby face of America, all that kind of wrestler. And all of a sudden, Hogan's in the ring beating down somebody with the two guys that are known heels, and it's like mind blown. You know, that got people's attention real quick, and that is what led for almost 2 years WCW kicking the WWE's ass in the ratings.
Yeah, every time I open my mic, my phone goes off. I think from a business standpoint, the Steve Austin driving down, drinking beers and throwing beers around and all that kind of stuff kind of hurt him. Isn't that right? About the same time that the Wildlife Federation sued him over the WWF name.
No, that was years later.
Well, that's what I mean. Like Austin comes down and because it was a family play, you could take your kids with you, and Karen could skip soccer practice and take the kids down to the wrestling event. And then when she sees the guy grabbing his, what, and drinking beer and slinging beer and burping, she's like, "I'm not bringing my kids back to this."
Yeah, that was the Attitude Era, but the lawsuit with the World Wildlife Foundation or whatever it is suing them that came in the 2000s. That was after WCW was gone, after they had bought them and merged the two together. So, but I get your point. Yeah, and then you had Sable taking her top off every other Raw. With they were changing it from being a kid show. Then in the 2000s, they decided they want to change it back to that again because they had no competition, and at that point, McMahon could do whatever the hell he wanted. I mean, you had TNA out there, but they were never competition. You got not today. They're trying. I don't know if you've watched any of the WWF stuff lately or WWE. They're trying now to change things because they're starting to get competition now. You got AEW, which is building up a really good roster. New Japan is starting to break into the U.S. before all this COVID shit, and so they're really starting to get seeing competition come at them again.
Well,
And AEW isn't just some minor thing funded by Jeff Jarrett and his dad. AEW is owned by the son of the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
they've got a lot of roadmaps built out for them. I think that they should take it as far as the competition level, more like what the UFC does, and brand it like a mixed martial arts event almost, because you a bunch of people want the classic Bob Backlund wrestler that's going to put you in the full Nelson. Then a bunch of people want the super big guys like Andre the Giant, Big John Studd, all these kind of guys, you know, choke slamming people. But then there's a whole bunch of people that still want the Rey Mysterios doing triple backflips off the bottom rope and cross body blocking. So they've got all the talent that they need. I think they did take some of the pageantry away. Some like the Bootios guys. They're phenomenal athletes, but do you really need to see three or four dudes dancing around in pink dresses throwing cereal at people?
Well, you're not going to get that anymore because they broke the New Day up. You got two of them are on Raw now as the Raw Tag Team Champions, but the third guy, Big E, the big guy among them, he's over on SmackDown. They broke the New Day up as far as being a threesome, and they haven't been doing the cereal or pancake thing anymore.
One night we were working in Virginia, so my boss got a hotel room for me, And he was like, "Hey, if one of your nephews want to go down and help you paint this house, go ahead and take them, and I'll give them a good rate." And so I took my brother's oldest son down there with me, and he's a mega wrestling fan. So we're back in the hotel room after work, and of course, all he wants to do is watch wrestling, and that's where I learned about the Bootios guys.
Yeah. Um, the craziness is if you watch the main WWE program, Raw and SmackDown are different from each other, right? They have different writers and stuff. So the SmackDown right now is pretty decent. Raw, yeah. But the best of the WWE programming is NXT, which has totally different staff completely and is run by Triple H. Triple H has NXT where remember the old school NWA kind of stuff?
Yeah, of course.
That's what NXT looks like.
Nice.
And AWA kind of has that feel mixed with the Japanese influence. Did I say AWA or AEW? I meant if it's AEW. AEW has the old school NWA kind of mixed with the Japan stuff, and they've even got a little bit of luchador thrown in there for good measure, and it works.
Now, what about this? Do you think that holding so many events so close to each other in the more recent history, I guess, like not when we were kids and watching it, but do you think they oversaturated the market too? Because back when we were kids, you had the couple main events throughout the year, like the pay-per-views, and then every weekend you had wrestling. That's it. You didn't have 3 nights a week and the weekend and all this other kind of stuff that they have now. You think they oversaturated the market?
No, because we did have that back then. You had to have cable to get it, but if you look at USA Network, they had 2 or 3 wrestling shows every week on USA Network alone.
Yeah, but were they repeats or were they live events? Like, you
They
know,
weren't. They
not
weren't.
live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, they you had on Monday nights. You had where they were showing matches from house shows around the country. It wasn't live, but unless you were at the arena where the matches took place, they're matches that you hadn't seen before.
But see, when I was a kid, I didn't have cable. I had to go to my grandparents' house, which was like 100 yards, 200 yards away from where I lived at to watch. So Monday night, if I was over there, I was watching MTV or something like that. I didn't even know about. So I'm used to like basic television where you got your wrestling on Saturday.
Yeah, and then TBS, you had the 605 show on Saturday for 2 hours, and then Sunday there was another hour-long show.
Right on.
And then before Saturday morning cartoons, when growing up in Pittsburgh, we had an NWA program on before Saturday morning cartoons came on the channel that was Fox, or would become Fox.
But you and
And
I
right,
kind of
so,
touched on it in one of the earlier episodes. But one of my favorite things about wrestling when I was a kid was Saturday night's main event.
mm-hmm.
Because it didn't come around very often. And it was always a whole bunch of really cool matches. The crappy part when you were a kid is the last match always cut off. So there was always suspense at the end on who really won, what happened. But then, now that I'm older and I can look back at it, I'm like, well, that's the good part is they left you wanting more.
Yeah, when I don't know about in Baltimore, but we had 5 or 6 different wrestling federations that came across without having to have cable. We had NWA, WWF, WCCW, Mid South, NWA, and there was and the AWA, all on regular TV.
Don't forget Glow.
Glow was late night Saturday. We're not going to do, but yeah. And if you had cable, you had even more because you had primetime wrestling on USA Network. There was at one point there for a couple years there was a late night talk show hosted by Vince McMahon on USA Network called Tuesday Night TNT, where it was like Carson kind of show, but Vince was interviewing the different wrestlers, and you would have them get into fights and stuff on the show. And his Ed McMahon was Lord Alfred Hayes. If you remember Lord Alfred Hayes,
If I saw him, I would remember him. But
the
sometimes,
British guy always wore tuxedo.
to me, all of them always look like that. You know,
But
like you and Alice were talking about the announcers like 2 weeks ago. I think what's his name,
Tony Schiavone.
Tony Schiavone. Like Tony Schiavone basically was my uncle when I was a kid. He was like you guys were talking about. That's the one that everybody remembered, and I couldn't remember what he looked like to save my life, so I had to look him up on the internet. But I knew who you were talking about when you kept saying Tony Schiavone.
Or as Jericho called him, and still does to this day on AEW, Schiavone. Oh, by the way, Jericho's in AEW. If you didn't catch that, but, he just turned 50, and you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't know it.
Are these guys making money now?
In AEW, yeah, they
I
get
mean,
paid.
in wrestling in general, like all across the board, just in general. Because
Yeah,
back when we were kids, Hulk Hogan made good money, but he wasn't mega rich off of being Hulk Hogan just from wrestling.
yeah, yeah. They're getting paid decently.
I remember they had that TV show on, like I guess How to Be a Wrestler or whatever, like one of those competition shows, and they were showing what it takes to practice and audition to become a wrestler.
That's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, man, those people take a beating.
hmm I've heard people that or interviews with wrestlers who. Last week we were talking about wrestlers who became or football players became wrestlers, and
Hmm.
a lot of them say the conditioning and stuff they need to be a pro wrestler is harder than the conditioning they needed to be a football player.
Well, shoot, I mean, there's so many. I'm sure you mentioned Lala Zato, uh, Brian Pillman,
hmm Yeah. Oh man, I forgot about Pillman. That's
The
right. I
Rock.
forgot he played football.
Yeah,
Oh
Brian Pillman was a good football player too.
yeah. Well, his son wrestles in AEW. His son right now. He's just starting out. Really, he's still like the jobber, up and comer kind of, but he is there. Yeah. Clover said big money comes with merch and brand deals and stuff. Not
Yeah,
anymore. They're starting to get guaranteed contracts now where they make big bucks and just from their contracts.
Andrew says Goldberg played football.
Yeah, we mentioned Goldberg last week. But yeah, god damn, I can't believe I forgot Pillman.
Yeah, I messed up. I said Lala Zato. Lala Zato didn't wrestle. My bad.
No.
I don't
Well,
know why.
he was involved.
Yeah, I know he was involved, but he was never like a wrestler.
No. Not full time.
Like Mr. T wrestled more than Lala Zato did.
Well, Mr. T didn't really wrestle much either. It's just
I
he
think
got
he had two.
everybody thinks Mr. T did because he was on the WrestleMania 1 and WrestleMania 2 cards. I think that's where everybody thinks Mr. T was this big rep. He only had like 3 matches.
I think it was only two because one of the matches, a lot of people credit him when the after the when, how the brawl would happen and the managers would come in and the ringside would come in. He ended up in one of those, and that was before his first match. Like that's how
No,
he
no,
got
he
into it.
had
That
he
he was
had
in
three
their
he had
brawls.
three legitimate matches. He had the wrestling match with him and Hogan against Piper and Orndorff, and then he had a boxing match with Piper, which ended up Piper got disqualified because he picked him up and body slammed him. And then they had the match at WrestleMania 2.
Yes, yeah, all right, all right. I'll have to take your word for it. Like if you're saying that, then it's 99% that it's true. Probably even 100% that it's true.
I mean that, yeah, but yeah. Remember at that point in time, Mr. T was still doing the A team. He didn't have, and back then TV seasons were different than what they are now. You know, they
I
were
got
working almost year round.
I got one for you. How did you feel about the Hillbilly Jim entrance in the wrestling? Like the way they brought him out of the crowd and all that kind of stuff?
I liked Hillbilly Jim.
Yeah, but do you think like did you enjoy the whole, him being a heckler and then pulling him out of the crowd type of thing? Did you think that was cool?
As a kid,
But I'm talking about, yeah, both as a kid and when you reflect on it
as a
now.
kid, yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I liked Hillbilly Jim.
I mean, as an adult now, you sit back and look at it. You realize that he was a plant and everything. But back then, being a kid, not knowing any better, that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
Jason
kind
said that Hogan turned down the George Foreman grill.
Yeah, it's kind of like when WWE did that with the guy Santino Marella. Not his real name, obviously, but they were in Italy, and they had him in the crowd, and Umaga and his manager. Umaga was one of the Rock's relatives. I think he was Roman Reigns' brother, if I remember right. Big Samoan guy. He was the Intercontinental Champion, and they did this. Who here thinks they could beat Umaga? And they're pointing at the crowd, and this one guy jumps up, me, me, me. And Santino Marella, and Bobby Lashley was out there. They had Lashley help him win the Intercontinental title in his very first match, but they made it look like he was just somebody out of the crowd. Kind of like they did with Hillbilly Jim, only Hillbilly Jim didn't win a championship.
Oh yeah.
But it was the same basic principle. If you're a kid and all the kids loved Santino until they turned him heel because of that.
All right, I got two more for you then. Your opinions on the character and the competition level of Brutus the Barber Beefcake and the Honky Tonk Man.
Honky Tonk Man, when he was really wrestling, like if you watch his older matches and when he was in Mid South and wrestling is in his family. He is Jerry Lawler's cousin. Honky Tonk Man was a good wrestler.
Did you think the character played well?
When they turned him heel, yeah. When they tried making it to where he was Hogan's friend and everything and nobody was buying it, obviously not. Nobody was buying him being Hulk Hogan's buddy, like what they were trying to say, because they had just done that with Hillbilly Jim, right? So they tried it again with the Honky Tonk Man, and it went over like somebody dropped a pile of bricks on the crowd. But when they turned him heel, and he started getting heel heat, and people not liking him, yeah, the character worked. Especially when they turned him into the cocky son of a bitch with the guitar that was always whacking people in the head.
Yeah, smashed him over the head. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what about Brutus the Barber Beefcake?
Beefcake was good until he had his accident, which almost killed him, and they had to completely rebuild his face.
Yeah.
He lost something after that, but he was such good friends with Hogan that the guy was always going to have a job.
Yeah.
Hogan was going to watch out for him, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I wondered, like when I was a kid, I wondered what happened to him because he was always on the scene, then he just disappeared. And then I never paid any attention. He was just my kid. I'm not gonna like actually go look into it.
Do you know what happened to him?
He had like a motorcycle accident, right? And
No, parasailing.
oh, okay. I thought he bounced his face off a bridge or something like that on a
No,
motorcycle.
he bounced his face off the ocean at high speed.
Oh wow. Okay, I didn't. Okay, I thought it was a motorcycle crash.
Yeah, no, he had a parasailing accident and they had to completely reconstruct his face. His face is held together by nuts and bolts to this day. There were certain moves that wrestlers, when they were wrestling after that point, couldn't do. They didn't even know if he was going to be able to see in one eye. They thought, because his eyes were so badly damaged, they thought he was never going to be able to see again in at least one of his eyes. He gained full vision back in both of them miraculously.
I mean, remember back in the old school days where they didn't have the blood bags and they didn't have all the the scientific props and stuff like that, and guys would actually cut themselves with razor blades.
Oh, they still do.
They still get away with that?
Yeah, they'll still blade. There's two
Oh,
different ways of bleeding. You have blading, and then you have what they call the hard way in wrestling terms. But yeah, you can. There's still instances where they'll blade. But
yeah. I
getting
thought,
back to Beefcake real quick.
yeah,
If he wasn't built up the way he was, remember how big Beefcake's neck was?
yeah. His whole upper, he looked like the guy from Emperor's New Clothes from the Disney, where like little tiny triangle legs and a giant upper torso.
Yeah, if his neck wasn't as big as what it was, if he was built like you or me, he'd have been dead. The way he hit, he would have snapped his neck instantly. The muscle in his neck is what saved his life.
Wow. Wait a minute. He was parasailing,
I
so he
believe
was
it.
being towed by on a boat. Like,
Yeah,
how do you crash? How do you crash doing that?
there was the it's a you're on a parachute.
Yeah, I know. I've been
Parachute.
parasailing.
When he got up there, the parachute somehow collapsed in on itself,
Ah,
and the
okay.
boat, the driver of the boat didn't realize and smash.
Ah, yeah, that's not good.
No, yeah, he pulled him right out of the air.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, that's bad.
Yeah, there were a couple accidents like that, and it led to where I believe now the parachutes that they use for that are reinforced to keep that from happening.
Yeah, one of my friends down in Florida runs a parasailing thing on the beach.
Yeah, you'll have to ask him about that because if I remember right, there they put regulations in because this was when parasailing was first taking off, and they just used like a regular parachute, but I think they have special ones now that are reinforced so that they can't collapse in like that, and you just be pulled down into the water. And because you know, if the if you're lucky, you're gonna you're gonna be fucked up for the rest of your life. If you know what I mean, that's best case scenario.
Yeah, you're pretty high in the air when you're
Yeah.
parasailing. Yeah, if you have to just drop from where you are into the water,
Well, the problem is if something happens with that parachute, you're not just falling; you're being pulled down at the same time by the boat.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, it's some risky stuff, man. If you don't got that, and you got the ones now where use a hang glider to do it.
well, also the one when I went parasailing, there was three of us up there. So it wasn't just what am I gonna do, it's what are they gonna do too. You know, if you got your stuff together and the people you're with start panicking, then
Mm-hmm.
you might as well panic too because you're gonna feel the same.
Yeah, it's gonna affect you whether you want it to or not.
Right.
But yeah, uh, yeah, you were getting back to what you were talking about. But yeah, they still blade and stuff, but not all the blood is blading these days. Back in the old days, it was you look at people like Dusty Rhodes, his forehead. The reason why his forehead looked like his forehead did is because he kept a razor blade in the tape on his wrist. You know,
Yeah, Jimmy Snuka was a famous one for that. And
yeah.
who's the other guy that played I can't think of his name. He played so many different characters. Mankind was one of them.
Oh, Mick Foley. No, Mick
Like,
Foley. That's not from blading. Mick Foley used to do barbed wire matches.
well, that's what I mean. Like
Yeah,
really cutting yourself while you're trying to entertain the crowd. Yeah, Mick
yeah,
Foley
yeah,
used to bust himself up.
yeah. But he was doing it the hard way. He wasn't using a razor. He was running into barbed wire. That's why he's missing part of his ear from a
Yeah,
barbed wire match in Japan where he had half his ear torn off.
those dudes were nuts, man.
Oh yeah, they don't even do that shit in Japan anymore. You know, but yeah, they were crazy. I mean, they would take the ring ropes off the ring and replace the ring ropes with barbed wire. In some cases, razor wire. You gotta be out of your goddamn full mind.
Jason said when he was a kid, they would go to the airport to see all the wrestlers when they would fly into town. Uh, a lot. I know. Well, I don't know if it's still a thing, but one of my friends used to go up to Atlantic City, and there'd always be wrestlers on the boardwalk up there when they would have events. So they'd always get pictures with all the wrestlers on the boardwalk.
Yeah. Oh, not this year, obviously, but last year, the Bullet Club from New Japan had a tailgating party outside WrestleMania, and anybody that wanted to could just walk in and hang out with the Bullet Club outside the venue. Not sponsored by WWE, obviously, but
Right.
so yeah, they just basically threw like a block party outside MetLife Stadium.
Well, I mean, I think it's a good idea. It's gonna show if you're the opposition and you're hanging out outside the opposition's party and people are still coming to your party. That's pretty good. If nobody
Yeah,
shows up to your party, then you're gonna look stupid.
yeah, they had a decent turnout
That's,
because they
that's
were
what I
they
mean.
were live streaming it. They had a lot of people just show up.
It sounds like kind of a jerk move, but it makes sense. It's worth taking a risk. If nobody shows up, then you look like an idiot and your career is over.
Yeah, this wasn't put on by New Japan or anything. This was the members of the Bullet Club spending their own money to do this, and they had a good turnout for it. It's not the first time they had done it. They had done it with episode of Raw too, and that was 2 years ago, I think, maybe three. But they were on the property of the arena when they did it on the Raw episode, and Vince McMahon had them removed from the property.
Well, that makes sense too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, it ain't like Vince McMahon that they didn't do it to WCW back in the day either. You remember there was an episode of Raw where they were showing DX trying to get into an episode of Nitro, and on Nitro they were talking about how DX is trying to get into the building and failing, and this was before McMahon had bought WCW. One was trying, yeah, we're gonna get in there, and then the other show was laughing because they couldn't get in there. People were literally flipping back and forth between the two to get the whole story. And yeah, DX was trying to get in, and every time they tried to get in one of the doors, they were being thwarted by security. Now, what wasn't cool is when you had the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega back when they were in New Japan, when they were in the Bullet Club, even they bought tickets and went to an episode of Raw. McMahon found out they were in the building and had them removed. They weren't doing anything. They were just sitting there watching the show, and McMahon had them removed.
Yeah, but there are non-compete clauses that I mean,
Well,
I'm
they
sure.
no, they were just there as fans. They were just there to watch the show.
Yeah, I mean, I use a sport ball reference and say if I'm, you know, Jim Harbaugh and I'm sitting there coaching my Ravens and I look back and see, Tom Brady in the seats. I'm gonna be kind of concerned as why is Tom Brady here, behind my bench watching my football team. Funny, I got the Patriots on the schedule next week.
Yeah, but it's not the same situation.
I know, I get it. I'm just being difficult.
Guys used to go to watch the other shows all the time.
Yeah, I
Like
get it.
like
Yeah.
Omega said when they got thrown out because it was on the news and everything. We were just there as fans. We were just there to watch the show. They weren't being paid to be there or anything. They had time off because they were doing one of the I think it was one of the Super Junior tournaments at the time was going on in Japan, so they didn't need the Young Bucks or Omega. So they were over here in the States where they all live, and they just wanted to go watch a wrestling show. Yeah, like Clover says, what difference does it make if you can watch it on TV and get the instant replay and slow mo and rewinds and everything? And yeah, I mean they wanted to go to be there in person. They could have watched it on TV and still got the same information that they would have
Well,
got watching it in
yeah, I
person.
know, and I get it. There's no real secret information at a wrestling match, but if I'm Vince McMahon and the opposition is at my stadium, I don't want them promoting their product in my place.
But they weren't. That's just it.
You
They
don't
weren't
know
doing.
that.
They were sitting. They weren't even in the close up. They were up in the nosebleed section.
Yeah, but no fans walked up and said, "Hey, you guys are wrestler dudes from that other place. Let's take pictures."
It's
I'm
not
not saying
likely.
it's right.
It's
I'm
not
just saying,
likely because at that time, New Japan wasn't on the radar really yet, as far as being like what it is now. This was years ago, and you really didn't get New Japan. You didn't get New Japan on TV at that point. New Japan wasn't on TV here in the States for a year and a half later.
yeah, I'm not saying that the guys shouldn't be able to go and enjoy the match and have fun with the fans. I'm just saying the perspective from Vince McMahon might be, I don't want you promoting your stuff on my property. Get out of here.
Yeah, I just think McMahon was overreacted because, like I said, they were up in the nosebleed section. They weren't causing any trouble. They were just sitting there watching the show, and they told him to get out. But
I understand that. I'm all for that. I'm just telling you that's a possible reason for McMahon throwing him
oh yeah,
out.
I understand what you're saying too. But the thing is, they wouldn't have gotten in any secrets or anything. There was no reason for them to throw him out of the building at that point. I mean, if they were causing trouble, like you have about a year ago, Enzo Amore, the guy who played it, his character was Enzo Amore in WWE. He got fired because there were allegations and he was charged with sexual misconduct of various types. The charges ended up being dropped after he was fired, but he bought a ticket and was trying to cause trouble at one of the events, and they threw his ass out. That's a totally different story. You know, so that
Yeah,
was kind
I
of
get
stuff
that.
going on.
I'm not trying to condone the guys being thrown out for having a good time, even if they were socializing and taking pictures. I'm just trying to figure out how Vince McMahon would be thinking about it.
Because it's Vince McMahon.
Well, yeah, that's the point that I'm making is get the hell out of my building because I said so.
Yeah, it's Vince McMahon. There's a lot of things that Vince McMahon does. It's like, huh. It's like the best ones. Kenny Omega signed up to be one of they got that Thunderdome thing right now because of COVID. Kenny Omega was on the Thunderdome screens. He had signed up and got approved, and McMahon was furious.
What do you think of Vince McMahon, where he became more involved in the actual?
When he became an on-screen character, you mean?
Yeah. When he became a wrestler and he became more involved in being on screen and stuff like that, do you think that was good? Do you think he overdid it, or what do you think of that?
That helped WWE at the time, WWF, retake the lead from WCW. Good or bad, it worked. The problem is Vince has not adapted beyond that point.
Well, yeah, it seems like they brought, the kid in, then the wife in, then that got Triple H into being the corporate bad guy. You know, like we kind of talked about earlier. It seems like I agree with you. It was probably a good idea when they first did it, but it seems like they might have went too far with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, because they, like I said, he never advanced beyond that. His character always kept that same character. It wasn't as blatant as what it was originally. It was more low key, but it was still the same character. He was still the evil guy in charge kind of character.
Never saw Joe Biden on WWF body slamming anybody.
No, but you did see Donald Trump.
Donald Trump did.
Yeah, him and McMahon are good friends. But
Yeah.
Jason's got a question. He wants to know how come Bruiser Brody's murder was never solved. It was. Nobody was ever prosecuted, but they know exactly who it was that did it.
Well, Bob Marley knows the guy that shot him too, and he was never prosecuted. So what's that any good?
Yeah, but Brody, there's conflicting reports about what happened that night, and since they couldn't get a clear story, nobody was ever charged. But they know who did it. They have the murder weapon. So that's what happened there. And in case you don't know, Brody was stabbed in the shower and killed by one of the other wrestlers. Some wrestlers, some of the guys backstage were saying that they got into an argument. Others said that the two of them had a beef for a long time. No, since they couldn't get a concrete one way or the other, because half of them said it was Brody's fault, half of them said it was the other guy's fault. He said, she said, nobody was charged.
Right on.
That's what happened there. It's kind of like the Arn Anderson Sid Vicious scissors incident.
Yeah,
Which,
Arn Anderson stuffed some scissors somewhere, and Sid Vicious didn't like it.
no, somewhere along the line, Sid and Arn got into a argument, and at some point, scissors got into the mix, and somebody was trying to stab somebody else with a pair of scissors. There's conflicting reports on exactly what happened, and neither Arn nor Sid will talk about the situation, the incident. They both just want to leave it be. Ghost says Marley's assassination shooters were tried and executed.
Yeah, but Marley was shot more than once.
Well, he did say shooters.
Well, I'm not talking about multiple times, like multiple shots in one sitting. You know, he was shot more than once. Like there was more. Once he got shot, and then years later he got shot.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Yep, that's what happened with Brody, and that's what happened with the. Well, we nobody I think is ever going to know what all really happened with the scissor incident with Arn and Sid unless you were actually there. You know what I mean? Because nobody really wants to talk about the situation. They just it's water under the bridge now. The two of them have spoken since then. They don't want to kill each other. So leave it be, I guess. You got to think of the environment too, right? You got guys that are all hopped up, adrenaline flowing from being out there in the ring doing whatever to get into a fight backstage, and
You
tempers
think
can flare.
you think the new age wrestlers party like the old ones did, and we just don't hear about it as much? Or I mean, you never heard about it then until they started talking about it.
Did you ever hear the story where Cena and Jericho were out getting drunk one night?
No.
Okay, I'll try and tell this as much as I possibly can, if from memory of when Cena was on. I think it was on Jericho's podcast where they were telling the story when they had one episode of Jericho's podcast in WWE Network a couple of years ago. But apparently they were at a bar in their hotel. I forget what city they said it was. It might have been Tampa. But they were sitting there drinking. They're just pounding away beers and occasionally a shot to go with it. It starts out where the couple's having a fight over in the corner, and Jericho talks Cena into going over and talking to this couple. Apparently, Cena's a real good marriage counselor. By the time Cena was done talking to him, they were making out in the booth. This is what Jericho was saying. And, you know, about that time, Cena didn't remember any of that, right? He's like, I don't remember any of that happening. But anyway, he goes back over and goes back. And next thing he knows, Jericho passes out, hits face first on the table. So Cena gets up, picks Jericho up over his shoulder, goes over to the bar, gets a 6-pack, and carries Jericho back to his room, throws Jericho face down on the bed in case he throws up so he doesn't choke on it, sits there in a chair in Jericho's hotel room because he didn't want to leave him alone because he was scared to death that something was going to happen to Jericho and he would get blamed for it. This was when he was first starting out still, and Jericho was the big shot, you know what I mean? So he was scared to death that if Jericho died, it was going to be all on him. So he sat there with Jericho all night listening to classic rock on Jericho's iPod while Jericho was stone drunk, passed out, and killed another 6-pack after having probably half a case or more down at the bar. So do they party like they used to? Yep.
I wonder how often John Cena has to back down from fights. You know, if he's out in the bar and somebody's got a little too many uh, adult beverages up in them, and they're like, "I'm gonna go test out this John Cena and see how fake wrestling is." Like, how often does he have to back down from fights?
I don't know. Andrew Faulkner after says, I guess he got his wrestlers confused. One of them was a Canadian mob hit. Yeah, that was Dino Bravo. Dino Bravo was assassinated by the Canadian mob.
Allegedly.
Oh, no, there's nothing alleged about it.
Allegedly.
No, not allegedly. They caught the guys that did it.
I live closer to Canada than you do. It's allegedly.
Hey, I grew up closer to Canada than you do.
And you probably live closer to Canada than I do, actually.
It's possible. But yeah, no, there's nothing alleged about it. They caught the guy or guys that did it, and they're serving life sentences in Canada right now.
The mob is not real.
That's what they want you to think.
Hillary Clinton is innocent.
Kingpin's just scared everybody.
Scared, smart, something like that.
There's a fine line between bravery and stupidity, right?
Yeah. I like to thicken that line up as much as I possibly can and stay closer to the stupid side.
Stupid by choice.
Hey, it's safer that way. If you don't, look, think about it. If you're stupid on purpose, it's safer. If you're stupid by accident, you always end up breaking something or hurting yourself. Jason's got the idea for John Cena.
Yeah, I saw that about the same time you did. Man. Wasn't the name of one of his movies?
The only movie that I've ever seen with John Cena in it was I don't even remember. It was a Will Ferrell and Marky Mark movie about stepdads or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the movie. Yeah, where he at the end of the movie he was the kid's real dad.
Yeah, when John Cena came in and made Marky Mark look like a little chump at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the last movie I've seen in the movie theater.
Yeah, that Amy Schumer movie, John Cena was supposed to have been the best part of the whole movie. If you only see one scene from it, that's the scene you want to see when he's at the movie theater telling off the people.
Don't ever watch anything that has anything to do with Amy Schumer, ever.
Oh no, no, if you haven't seen the clip of the movie theater scene when John Cena's taking her to the movies and a guy behind him says something about calling him looking like, you look like Marky Mark, and John Cena stands up, looks at himself, and says, "Man, I look like I ate fucking Marky Mark." It's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, John Cena's line might be good, but if that girl's in it, everything she says.
That's part of that movie, and he's only in like one scene.
No, she sucks.
That's the only scene I've seen of the movie.
No, don't watch any more because she sucks.
Oh, I know she does. She tell you all about how she does.
She's disgusting, man.
Oh
Ew.
yes, yes she is. Half her jokes are about how she gives blowjobs, and the other half are about her. So yeah, she is. She's disgusting, and she's Chuck Schumer's niece.
Yeah. Did you see that? Look, if anybody out in the chat is eating or is sensitive, turn your volume down real quick. Okay, I've given you enough time. Did you see the whole thing when she was going, "Don't be naked when you vote"?
What?
Oh, dude, man, I wish I look. I wish I could do YouTube full time because I could put out 50 videos a day that would make people's heads explode. This whole uh, naked ballot thing, if you didn't sign the ballot correctly, it was called a naked ballot.
Mm-hmm.
All these radical lefties from Hollywood did videos of themselves naked, talking about, naked ballots. And, ugh, that disgusting mess was one of them. Oh, God.
Okay, that we're gonna stop talking about Amy Schumer now.
Please. Can we talk about mayonnaise, please?
Oh God, God, no, that's an image I didn't need in my head.
Oh,
Amy Schumer. To say Amy Schumer and you say mayonnaise. Now I got an image of Amy Schumer and mayonnaise. Curse you, Kingpin.
hey, that's how serious I was, man. She's disgusting.
Oh, I know. Because I can picture her doing something with mayonnaise.
Oh,
So I need to know that she is a disgusting individual, and she probably has at some point in her life. And if you ask her, she'll probably tell you all about it during one of her comedy specials. I mean, remember, one of her comedy specials is what got the star system removed from Netflix because
shame.
people were giving it 1 star.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's okay. She's a strong, empowered woman, and if you don't think that she's funny, you're a bigot.
Well, apparently there are a hell of a lot of people that don't think she's funny.
They're a hell of a lot of bigots.
She complained to Netflix because her comedy special only had 1 star. That's because you're not funny and you suck.
And they wouldn't let you
Not
give
the way they
zero.
want to tell everybody.
Well, they wouldn't let you give zero.
Yeah, they wouldn't let us give 0. Now they got what? Thumb up and thumb down. I don't even know if they got a thumb down. It might just be a thumb up. Either thumb up or nothing. That's what they were talking about doing anyway. I don't know if they ever did. I haven't really paid attention. But yeah, that was a bunch of bullshit. She whines and cries because her uncle's a senator to take away the stars system. But you know what? Get some talent, bitch, and then try doing something, see if people like it or not. Are you in the bathroom vomiting right now because of Andrew Faulkner's comment?
Yeah, I committed suicide a couple minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
This is just involuntary muscle reactions that you're hearing right now.
Anyway, what were we talking about before we got down to Amy Schumer Road?
Oh, what were we talking about?
I just told the story about Cena and Jericho getting
Yeah,
drunk.
that's what we were talking about, the bar fight with or the Slimmy saving the dude from killing himself with alcohol.
Yeah. And speaking of bar fights, Haku, aka Ming, whichever one you want to call him, once bit a guy's nose off in a bar fight.
All right, tell me this. I heard that Yokozuna was somebody. I got the name Coco Beware stuck in my head, but I know that's not it. Rashiki was the real big fat Indian guy, right?
Rikishi? Rikishi's
Or
Samoan.
Kishi, yeah.
He's Samoan.
Okay, well, he like some little tiny guy before that, and they ended up getting super fat.
Yeah, he used to be earlier in his career. He was smaller, but you know
What
what? That's not uncommon for Samoans.
what was his name when he first started out?
Oh Christ, he was one of the Samoan SWAT team. I can't remember what his name was.
Yeah, but he was like the good guy of the Samoan. He was like the one that wasn't crazy.
Yeah.
But everybody had always told me because he was there for a while because he was much smaller than the regular guys, and
Hmm.
he didn't really fit in with their whole mantra. And then he went away for a while. Then this Rakiki guy came back, and everybody was like, "That's him." And I was like, "There's no way. That guy's like 5 times bigger."
Yeah, Samoans, they can. That their genetics, man. They're either smaller size guys or they're gigantic guys. There's no middle ground. If you look at, honest to God, you're either gonna, if you're Samoan, you're either gonna look like Roman Reigns and the Usos, or you're gonna look like Rikishi and Umaga and Yokozuna, because you know it's just the way it is. There's no middle between them.
So that was the guy.
Yeah,
Wow, that's crazy. I always thought that was bullcrap,
and
and I
he,
never cared enough to look into it. But I
yeah, and
always like that's.
he's the father of Jimmy and Jey Uso.
I don't know who that is.
They're Roman Reigns' cousins. They're the Usos in WWE right now.
Roman Reigns is the guy. Like he was the heavyweight champion for a while, and then he went away, and then didn't he have?
Yeah, he had to take time off because his leukemia came back.
Yeah,
We
he
were
had.
talking about him last week. He was a former football player too.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. He had to give up the WWE Universal title because his leukemia came back. But he's okay now. They caught
didn't
it in quick enough to where he just did a couple months of chemo and he was fine.
didn't Batista have the same type of issue where
No,
he was an actor, he was a wrestler, he was an actor, then he
yeah,
got
he's an actor and as well as, but he's been in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
but he never got sick or nothing.
No, he never got super sick, and he never had a super serious injury either.
All right.
And would you believe that he's over 50 years old?
I probably by now, yeah. I mean, he's last time I saw a picture of him like 3 or 4 days ago, which is what I guess made me think about him tonight. And he looked old. I'm not saying 50's old, but he looked every bit of it.
Yeah. When they did Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think he was just about to turn 50 at that point. So he's probably closer to, how long ago was that that came out? Probably closer to 55 now, I guess. It's been a few years, right? Since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 came out. But he didn't get started in wrestling until he was like 30. He was a bodybuilder before that. Yeah. Two Gun Kitty says, we forgot last week about Wahoo McDaniel and Ernie Ladd as football players. Yeah, you're right. We did. But like we said, there's so many of them. It's hard to keep track. It's hard to remember some of them, especially when you only got an hour when Ellis does the show. So, you're bound to forget somebody. It's going to happen, especially when you got other topics you're talking about too. Andrew, no, it's not. Believe it or not, because he said 50 years old. That's a record for wrestlers. Believe it or not, there were guys over in Japan that are 80 years old wrestling still.
What about didn't like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan both over 50 years old?
Yeah, but they don't wrestle anymore.
Yeah, how long has it been since Ric Flair wrestled?
About 10 years.
So how old is Ric Flair?
He just turned 70 not that long ago.
So 10 years ago would have made him 60.
Yeah,
So that's 60's more than 50.
I know that, but he's not wrestling now. Is all I was saying.
Well, neither am I.
Well, you could though.
No, 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 no. I'm pretty limber and I'm fairly fit,
Hey,
but
have
I
you seen Spike Dudley?
I don't know who Spike Dudley is, but I'm assuming he's a tall, lanky person that doesn't have a whole lot
Exactly.
of meat on his bones. But
Yeah.
he's also a professional athlete.
Yeah.
I think after the first body slam, they're going to need to call the
Yeah.
paramedic.
Guns and Barbecue just pointed out Terry Funk is still wrestling. Yeah, so are Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. Like Toot and Kitty just said as I was getting ready to. The Rock and Roll Express is still wrestling and they're into their 60s. But they don't wrestle constantly. They take time off every so often. No, that's because you are A&A. He says, I'm 54, busting my ass off working for a living. I feel older. Like, yep, that's because you are. Sorry, Jason. Nobody remembers you as a wrestler.
All the ladies from Glow remember that. They don't. They didn't forget who Jason was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Guns and Barbecue says Terry Funk. Funk is 76.
Hey man,
And why it held that, I do not know. Is Funk a swear word in a foreign country?
he, he he had a good one the other day. He typed in. He said, "The blind guy doesn't need to spell check LMAO or something like that." And he
Yeah,
spelled
was that
wrong
last?
on purpose. That was
I
pretty
think
funny.
that was last night
Yeah.
during Gary's show
Uh-huh.
because we were joking. Roxy spelled Gary's name wrong. Uh, did you not pay attention to the title of the show before you jumped in, A&A? Did you just see that we were live and decided you were going to watch? That's what this whole topic of this whole thing was. See, what happened, for those of you who joined late who may not know, Ellis and I usually, Ellis Hatfield, aka the Outlaw Hatfield, and I usually do a wrestling show over on his channel. He got sick tonight, so he wasn't able to do it. So at the time when he tells me he's not going to be able to do the show, Kingpin and I were texting back and forth about something. I don't even remember what the hell it was right now. And I asked Kingpin if he wanted to do the fill-in show. We can do a show and fill in since Ellis is sick. And Kingpin's like, sure, let's do it. So here we are. But yeah, this is normally a wrestling show hosted on Ellis's channel. And Jason said it's a side effect of dehydration. Are you trying to say that Ellis was drunk?
Can you do the viewing public a big favor and please tell Ellis that his background is disgusting. He's got that super bright light right over his shoulder, and it's really annoying. So if he could do a little something different with his background in his videos, that would be super. The light over the shoulders really messes things up. It's super bright, and everybody can just pay attention to the light.
I tell you to send him an email, but he never checks his email.
Well, you talk to him, you know.
Not that often.
You do a show with him every weekend.
That's about the only time we actually talk.
Be productive and don't waste your time. I need this stuff handled immediately, man.
Do you know how many other things I do during the course of the week that are YouTube related? Come on.
Hey, I pay good money for this wrestling chat, and the humor is always
You're paying money? I ain't getting any of
it. This electric bill isn't free. Watching an hour-long show on YouTube costs probably about 2 or 3 cents.
Okay. Now we got to address something A&A says out there. Let me put this up. This one deserves to be put up on the screen because we're going to have to go into this whole thing again. My thought is this pro wrestling is fake and produced.
Yeah.
No shit. We know. That's the point. It's like watching a Spider-Man movie. We know it's fake. We know it's not real fighting. It's just an entertainment thing for people. It's like watch superhero movie. Spider-Man's going to win at the end, but you still watch. Batman's going to win in the end, but you still watch. Right? And so, I mean, it's the same basic thing, only it's live on TV. It's actually harder for them to do that than it is for them to make a Batman movie because they don't have timeouts and stunt crews and stuff. They got to make all that shit work live on television and live in front of a crowd. It's like it's a stunt show combined with theater.
We got two good ones, Two Gun Kitty and Nighthawk Medic. So we'll just go with Two Gun Kitty because he's first on the list. He said, "Rich White, what was your first world title match you saw in person? You seen in person? Mine was Bob Backlund versus Peter Maivia, The Rock's grandfather."
Yeah, Peter Maivia. Yeah, Chief Peter Maivia. My first championship match in person, Magnum TA versus Ric Flair, 60-minute Broadway, Three River Stadium, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 1985 Memorial Day weekend in a downpour.
Bingo. What was the temperature? What was the barometer that night?
Oh, it was in the 50s. It was cold as hell with that rain.
Winds coming from the southeast?
Well, winds really couldn't get into Three River Stadium, so I couldn't tell you the wind speed.
Okay. All right, then Nighthawk Medic says, "I hate that wrestling is no longer freaks of nature, but more of a soap opera now. I miss the physical giants of old." Kind of that's ultimately, I think most people are going to say that was the real driving force at sending people away from wrestling is the theatrics outside of the ring got out of control.
Because it's entertaining, A&A. It's why do people go to the Rocky Horror Picture Show and throw popcorn at the screen at certain points or sing the theme song or sing other songs? Because it's just fun. It's a spectacle. You go there to have a good time. You don't go there to have a good time and sit there like a bump on a log with your thumb shoved up your ass.
Jason's crazy.
You probably pinned him a time or two.
Two Gun Kitty says that he saw pre-Thunder Lips Hulk Hogan fight Bob Backlund for the title. Hogan won by the countout. Is that how he beat Bob Backlund for the World Championship?
Hogan didn't beat Backlund for the title.
Oh, Hogan. Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning of the show. He beat the Iron Sheik.
Yeah, that was pre Thunderlips, so he may have still been a heel at that point.
Right. Okay. Your mom beat Bob Backlund. You're a funny
mother. I want to put it past my mother to have done so. And I'm just going to leave it there. People who know me in this chat know my feelings on my mother by this point. Yeah. Two Again Kitty says, yeah, Hogan was a heel at that point. It was before he went to AWA in Japan. So, yep, that would have been his initial run in WWF before Vince actually saw that he had something. Because people don't realize Hogan actually had to leave and go to AWA in New Japan or not. Was it New Japan or All Japan that he went to? Might have been both. Back then, they would go over to Japan. They would wrestle for both federations.
Well, that's the hardest part about any entertainment business. It doesn't matter how talented you are or how physically imposing you are. If you're not marketable, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, at that point, it still might have been Vince Sr. before he passed away. That was a while ago. Yeah. Do you know who managed Hulk Hogan in AWA?
Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yep, the guy that he would go on to feud with in WWF.
I miss classy Freddie Blassie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Two Gun Kitty says, yeah, Vince Sr. was the one in charge then. Yeah, Vince Jr., who is actually a junior. Their middle names are different, but it's easier to keep them separated by calling one senior and one junior. He would have been just a commentator at that point, which is why nobody outside of the wrestling game itself actually knew that Vince was in charge when he was doing the commenting, because everybody just knew him as being the commentator. That's what he had done before he took over. Yeah, he said Freddie Blassie was Hogan's manager during a heel run around 1980. Yeah, that would. So Hogan, yeah, Hogan was definitely a heel around that point in time, 70s into the 80s, late 70s into the 80s, and then right before the match with the Iron Sheik is when they turned him face and gave him the "I'm the American, I'm going to go out there and beat the Iron Sheik,"
Did
I go
Lou
over.
Albano ever? Did Captain Lou Albano ever wrestle?
Yeah,
Like as a wrestler, not like as a
yeah,
gimmick.
yeah. He was a wrestler before he became a manager.
I always thought he was the coolest, man. My grandmother used to get a trip. I'd be over her house watching it, and he would come on, and the way he would act with the rubber bands hanging off of his face and stuff. My
Mm-hmm.
grandmother always got a kick out of that.
Two Gun Kitty, people forget, a lot of people slammed Andre before Hogan officially, by WWF standards, slammed him. That was only in a music video, Midnight. But yeah, I mean, if you want to count people that slammed Andre, I can name two right now, other than Hogan. One's Kamala, not Kamala Harris, Kamala the Ugandan Giant.
Technically, technically, if you watch my video, it was Kamala Harris.
Yeah, I know, but totally different person.
That's true, but Kamala's last name was Harris.
Yes, I know, but his real name wasn't Kamala, so you're picking nits right now, Kingpin.
Hey, I got to do what I got to do.
Anyway, Kamala and Harley Race, both confirmed on video having slammed Andre the Giant. Greatest manager ever. Guns and Barbecue says Jimmy Cornette, then the Brain, then Jimmy Hart. No, you're not even close. Bobby Heenan, Lou Albano. Gary Hart. Freddie Blassie. Then Jimmy Hart. Mr. Fuji. I'm trying to think of all these wrestlers. Chief Adnan Al Casey, or Sheikh Adnan Al Casey.
Yeah, but are you just gonna name every manager in this?
I'm counting. I'm up to 7.
How many did he say? Top 10?
No, he said the top 2, but I haven't even gotten to his number 1 yet.
You're not gonna put you're gonna put Jim Cornette that far up the list?
He only managed one team. That's it. The only
Yeah,
thing
but
Cornette ever did was
you
Hart
guys.
found it. It was the Midnight Express.
Yeah, but you and Ellis talked about it a week or so ago. The effect that Jim Cornette had on wrestling was massive.
Yeah, but if you're into greatest managers, he's not in he's not in the top 7. I might put him at 8.
All right, I
But
guess
there's
okay. If we're gonna play strictly by the rules as just the manager's role, I
yeah,
guess you can't put him at number one. Yeah.
yeah, because Jim Cornette, he's done other things other than be a manager because he's ran his own federation and ran developmental for WWE for a while. If you want to put him as an influence as in wrestling, yeah, you could put him high on the list. But to put him at number 1 of managers, he's only managed one team ever. All the guys I've listed have managed multiple people, all to championships as well. Well, he managed Bam Bam and Yokozuna. That's true. So 2 teams. He managed 2 teams. That's it. I could
Would you,
put Paul Ellering on the list for what he did with the Road Warriors. But you know what? Paul Ellering only managed the Road Warriors until fairly recently when he managed the APA and NXT.
would you
But
say that the Four Horsemen ever had a manager?
yeah, they had JJ, but JJ was more of a member of the Four Horsemen. If you remember, whenever they did War Games, JJ would be in the match.
Well, that's kind of why I brought it up because I would have said Ric Flair was more the manager because he did most of the him and Arn Anderson did most of the real good banter to talk up the fights.
Yeah. Two Gun Kitty says the greatest WWF heel turn that people forget: Larry Zbyszko versus Bruno Sammartino. Yeah, and Zbyszko told that story during his WWE Hall of Fame induction. Most people don't remember it because most people that are watching this right now probably weren't alive when it happened. Everybody who's watching this, with a few exceptions, would just remember Zbyszko as being a heel. They wouldn't even remember him being a face because it was such a short time period, and then he's been a heel the whole rest of his career.
All right, we got 2 more questions that came in for you real quick. We'll go with Guns and Barbecues first because it's a pretty quick one. Sensational Sherry or Miss Elizabeth? Go.
In what capacity?
Just come on. Don't
No,
be
seriously, in what
don't be that
capacity?
way. Just
Are
play
we
along with the
talking?
game.
Are we talking as being beautiful women? Are we talking about as managers?
All of
We
it,
can't.
all
Miss
around. Old
Elizabeth, we
school
can't
package.
include
You
as
can
a
only pick
wrestler
one.
because she wasn't a wrestler. There's different.
No, you can only pick one. You got to pick one right now. Just play the game. Go.
But in which category?
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
It
Just
doesn't
pick one. Go.
matter. I don't know.
Managers.
Yeah,
There
he
you go.
says
He
as
wanted their
managers.
managers.
He says as managers. In that case, Sherry, because she managed more people than Elizabeth did.
All right. Now,
Elizabeth managed mostly Savage, short period of time Luger, and for a short period Hogan. Sherry managed quite a few different people, including Savage among them. So and Harlem Heat and others.
I'm trying to pull the answers out of him, Midnight. I'm trying. Okay, Midnight's got another good one. Most overrated wrestler. Go. Or wrestlers, if you want.
Most overrated. Overrated. If we're talking pure wrestling ability, Hogan.
I guess we're going to talk about unless he can clarify what he wants to mean. I think what he means is the character, their wrestling ability, their marketability, likability, all that kind of stuff. Like who did they try to push, and the people were just like, ugh, or you at least were like, ugh, I'm not happy.
Oh, Midnight agrees with me. He says, yeah, Hogan was pretty shitty. Yeah, Hogan is simultaneously the most influential and most overrated wrestler of all time. So I'm sticking with my answer.
How about this one for you? What about Ricky Steamboat?
Steamboat's a great wrestler.
You don't think that he was pumped up too much?
No. Watch his feud with Flair after he left WWF. His matches with Flair are iconic. Hell, his feud with Savage in the WWF. By the time he left WWF and they had him dressing in the dragon costume and shit, that that was a little overboard. But Steamboat was legitimately a good wrestler, a very good wrestler.
What about the Great Muta?
Oh, Great Muda, he still wrestles.
I thought when he came out and he was had that rivalry with Sting, that was some really good stuff for a while. But then I lost touch with it and never knew what happened.
Mm, yeah, he's wrestled everywhere. He's wrestled United States, Australia, England, Japan. Uh, Keiji Muda, he's been around for quite some time. He was around for years before he ever made his first debut in the United States. He's If you look at New Japan's record books, his name is all over it.
Guns and Barbecue makes a really good point here. Hogan was overrated between the ropes, but one of the best on the stick.
Yeah,
I,
he was charismatic as hell, but as a pure wrestler, god
he didn't
awful.
have any moves. He had to throw you against the ropes and kick you in the face.
Hmm.
He had the body slam, but he never did the press like the Road Warriors did. He always just did the scoop
Nope,
slam,
he never did a gorilla press.
and he had the leg drop.
Yep.
And a lot of his matches, he was getting his butt kicked the whole match until he started doing the pump your arm thing.
Yeah. He did the Hulk. He did the Hulk up, the body slam, the boot, leg drop, done. 4 moves of doom. Cena's got 3. Hogan had 4.
Yeah, good point, Guns and Barbecue. I don't remember a whole lot about Virgil. Andrew Faulkner says Virgil was the most underrated, but I don't remember a
Yeah,
whole lot of
Virgil, before he went to WWE and they decided to make him Ted DiBiase's toady, he was a good wrestler. He is actually, everybody says Ron Simmons is the first black world heavyweight champion. It's actually Virgil when he was going by Soul Train Jones in the UWF. He won the UWF world heavyweight title right before they were merged with Crockett Promotions version of WCW. They don't
well,
count it because Vince McMahon doesn't recognize it, and because it's not recognized by anybody, it never happened essentially.
all right.
But Virgil was a damn good wrestler.
Midnight. See, only thing I remember about Virgil was being Ted DiBiase's, little hype man or whatever. But Midnight says it's hard to believe the Warrior and Sting came up together. One was a selfless worker who was one of the best team players and a very good, and the other was a selfish asshole who couldn't wrestle for shit. I'm assuming the Warrior was the latter and Sting
Yeah,
was the good one.
by all accounts, yeah. Now I
Yeah.
will say this: if the Ultimate Warrior were in this chat right now, he would probably agree with us both politically. But as far as at the time when he was a wrestler, his work ethic and his mannerisms in the locker room, he was not a popular guy among the other boys and the girls. They did not like him at all.
Midnight nailed it again. He said Hogan, and so I liked Hogan's matches because as a little kid, when Hogan would come on, that was like a huge event. Because in my mind, because he didn't wrestle every weekend, you got him like once a month or something like that. So that was cool. Ultimate Warrior didn't have any moves at all except for run into you at full speed and then shake the ropes up and down and spit all over everybody.
Okay. So again, Kitty out there says Tony Atlas was first black world champion. What world championship did he hold?
Didn't he have? He had a like a television title or a middleweight title or something like that.
Well, the television title wouldn't count because television title is a mid card championship.
You're talking about like heavyweight champion title.
Yeah, the top champion in the
Yeah.
federation. Yeah, I don't remember Tony Atlas having one. That's why I'm asking.
He was one of my favorite wrestlers. Tony Atlas was awesome.
Well, here's the crazy thing: in WWE, they have the Intercontinental title and they have the World title. Technically speaking, an Intercontinental Championship would be a World Championship.
Yeah, I always thought that when I was a kid, and I never ever had the guts to bring it up to anybody because I didn't want to sound like an idiot.
Well, New Japan has the same thing. New Japan has an Intercontinental World Championship and a U.S. Championship, just like WWE does. Yeah, he said he held the title from the company that would become ECW, I believe. Okay, so that's an independent. So I don't know if that would technically. Well, if that's the case, when did he hold it? Because if he held it in the '90s, Virgil held the one he won in the '80s.
Let me look it up. I'll see if I can find it. But check out uh Guns and Barbecue makes a point that I'd like to hear you touch on about Randy Savage.
He thinks Savage would have been 10 times bigger if he didn't have to exist in Hogan's shadow. You know what? I think Savage got as big as he did in spite of Hogan's shadow. Savage was just as intense as Hogan was, and he had in ring talent on top of it. Savage was just a natural athlete. Like we talked about last week, the man was a major league baseball caliber baseball player. He just got tired of waiting for it to get called up from the minor leagues to the majors, and so quit playing baseball and went into pro wrestling. Savage was just a naturally gifted wrestler, and he had the charisma that Hogan had. Hell, one of my favorite interviews is when Mean Gene's interviewing him, and Savage goes, "Oh wow, it just blew my own mind." I see that and I laugh every time. Savage was the total package. Lex Luger gets called the total package, but Savage literally was the total package. He could do everything in the ring and out. Well, yeah, he did. He hurt his shoulder, but he came back after that midnight, and they still had him wait around in the minors while he was doing his recuperation and everything. And they kept telling him he was going to get called up, and he never did. They actually had video and everything when he got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame a few years ago that they played as a retrospective, and there was interviews with him, his brother, his mother, his dad, and they all were telling the story about what actually happened with that. He could have he if he'd have waited, and if they actually he progressed and got caught up, he could have made it to the majors. He didn't want to wait around for it and take the chance, so he went into wrestling, which a lot of people don't realize because a lot of people don't know Savage's family. Randy Savage's real name is Randy Poffo. His dad was a good wrestler. His brother was the genius, formerly the poet, Lanny Poffo. So, he came from a family of wrestlers.
I looked up Tony Atlas,
Mm-hmm.
and I just went right to the Wikipedia page, and there's just so much different stuff where he had different titles, and I didn't want to take a whole bunch of time to try to figure it out, but so I don't know. There, he says Tony Atlas had the IWCCW World Title in 1991.
Okay, Soul Train Jones was before that. That was Virgil was Soul Train Jones with I want to say it was the UWF World Title somewhere in the late '80s. In '91, that would have been about the same time that Ron Simmons won the WCW World Title because he won that when Flair took off from WCW to the WWF with the big gold belt, because Jim Herd, who was running WCW at the time, refused to give Flair back his deposit on the belt. Because back then, if you were the champion, you had to put down a 30 grand deposit on the championship, or you didn't get it.
Nighthawk Medic he said always preferred Randy Savage over Hogan. He looked like he was fighting. Yeah, Randy Savage. I didn't like the character of Randy Savage. Oh yeah, as much as everybody else did. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. I just wasn't that big of a fan of it. But him jumping off the top rope with that elbow was like that was the best thing about, when I think he was definitely better at the physical entertainment value of wrestling than Hogan was for sure.
Yeah, but the reason why I remember Virgil and Soul Train Jones as being the first black champion is for some reason my brother was fascinated by that. he had a he had a wrestling magazine that had him on the title holding his belt, and that just fascinated my brother for some reason because I
That's
don't know
something
why.
that you guys should cover if you get a chance, as the wrestling magazines. Because I know for me, when we would go to the supermarket or we go to the mall or something like that, and my mom would let me run off and do my own thing while she was shopping, I'd go right to the news center and flip through all the wrestling magazines and then off to the arcade. But looking through the wrestling magazines as a kid was like awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you didn't get to watch a pay per view, that's how you found out what happened. That's how I found out before I was able to finally get a chance to watch the I Quit match between Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA. That's how I found out what happened because they had the one wrestling magazine had a massive section where it was just pictures from that match.
Midnight. I remember that midnight. I mean, I think everybody else, I talk about it constantly. So, Guns and Barbecue wants to know what you think of I guess that's Gold Dust. I mean, he is the blind guy after all.
Yeah,
Razor Ramon feud.
yeah. Blind guys can't be spell checked.
My personal thoughts, Razor Ramon, I didn't like the character. I thought it was a waste of a big guy who was pretty agile. The whole machismo thing was stupid, and Gold Dust, I really didn't like the Gold Dust character.
God. Speaking of guys over 50 still wrestling, Dustin Rhodes. He's wrestling in AEW still. But you know what? I wasn't really watching WWE at that point, so I can't give you any thoughts on it. So I don't remember it. But
Do they still sell out like 150,000 seat arenas and stuff like that for WrestleMania?
they never did.
Like, oh, come on, you know what I'm talking about. Like they had,
Yeah, they
you know,
WrestleMania is a sellout every year.
yeah, it's a massive, massive crowd.
Yeah, but your point about Razor Ramon. Yeah, the character of Razor Ramon never clicked. He was better as just being himself at just being Scott Hall. And Scott Hall may be one of the few guys that went from another promotion to WWE and actually took off weight. If you look at Scott Hall when he was younger wrestling in AWA, if you can find the old clips of that, he was a lot bigger back then than he was as Razor Ramon or Scott Hall in WCW. And he had the Magnum TA mustache going too.
Yeah. Midnight makes a pretty good point about Dustin Rose being kind of like a regular everyday schmo who nobody's going to pay to come see. Like he wasn't marketable, even though he had Dusty Rose to ride with. They couldn't market him very well.
Mm-hmm. Here's a little interesting factoid about Gold and Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes actually told Vince McMahon, "If you give me $1 million and to do something different with this character, I'll get breast implants." True story.
Wow.
He wanted to go all out with the androgynous. Remember how what Goldust was when he first came in
Yeah.
as Goldust? He wanted to go all out with it. He literally told McMahon, "If you give me $1 million, I'll go out and I'll get breast implants for this character."
Now, see, if
while
Vince
they were
McMahon was just
while they
woke,
were planning out the character.
if Vince McMahon was just woke, he'd have been way ahead of the curve, and he could already have non-binary wrestlers right now.
Oh, AEW has a training wrestling in the women's division.
See? Could have been Vince McMahon 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here's one for you. Here's one of my favorite wrestling groups that didn't get a whole lot of maybe they got a lot of shine and I just stopped watching, but they were in the NWA or the WCW, the not WWF, uh, the Skyscrapers. Remember, it was Sid Vicious and the Undertaker, right?
Yeah, and then when Mark Callis left, he was replaced by Danny Spivey.
Yeah. I thought that those were good matches. I like to see those guys in the ring. That was always
Them
fun.
against the Outsiders would have been an interesting match. The Outsiders being Nash and Hall, of course, like we discussed earlier. That could have been interesting. Two teams with guys that size.
I got to see one of their matches. I was like, my cousin's husband took me to wrestling matches from time to time, and one of them was a skyscraper. Maybe they were wrestling Demolition or the Road Warriors. I can't remember who they were wrestling now. I mean, I could just keep guessing, but I was about 10 rows back from the ring. And to get an idea, especially when you're that little of a kid, to get to see those big giant dudes, jumping all over the ring was crazy.
Mm-hmm. Now, here's another little Gold Dust inside news that people may not know. Remember the woman that was managing him and would smoke the cigar? That was his actual wife. That was his wife in real life at the time.
I don't remember that stuff.
You don't remember? You don't remember the hot chick that smoked the cigar that was his manager?
Like I said, if I looked it up on the internet and saw it, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, now I remember. But right now, I just don't remember.
All right, later, Nighthawk.
Night out.
Yeah. 1-2-3 Kid or X Pac?
Ooh.
Well, 1-2-3 Kid didn't have go away heat. X Pac did. They're the same guy.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of either character really.
He was better as 6 in the NWO. No.
See, I didn't know him there. See, if I had to pick either one, I'd have to go X Pac because 1-2-3 Kid was kind of a kid. Like you didn't take him seriously. He was like the little brother that was getting slung around the ring, so somebody would have to come and save him.
Yeah,
But
and
with X Pac,
X Pac made a porno with China.
well, yeah, I know, but I'm talking about just the wrestling. Like X Pac was more of like a bad dude, where he's gonna
Midnight,
get in your face and give you a fight.
yeah, Midnight right now is frantically searching for a porno starring X Pac and China.
He's got the VHS. Don't let him fool you.
Possibly. Hell, man, he's probably got it on Blu-ray. What are you talking about? Yeah, I was never a fan of Sean Waltman. That's his real name.
All right, how about HBC or HBK or whatever, a Heartbreak Kid?
Oh, Shawn Michaels? Shawn Michaels got all the talent in the world.
Did you like him better as the bad guy, or did you like him better when he became real famous for the Sweet Chin music?
Well, he became famous for the Sweet Chin Music when he was the bad guy.
Well,
If
yeah,
you
I know.
remember, he turned heel by making that move.
I'm
That
talking
move
about like the
on Marty
real
Jannetty through the
bandwagon rush
glass
team.
is what turned him into a heel.
What's that?
Said him doing Sweet Chin Music on Marty Jannetty and putting Marty Jannetty through the glass on the barber shop is what made him a heel. I mean, you can't separate the heel run and the move. They're intertwined together in history.
Right, but you know what I'm talking about. There was a point in time where it became like trendy to like the Sweet Chin music. And a whole bunch of people, even though he was the bad guy, were like, "You Sweet Chin music," and it became like a big thing for a while.
Guns and Barbecue says HBK equals one of the greatest a-holes ever. I was going to get to that because, yes, backstage, Shawn Michaels was, by all accounts, one of the biggest assholes and one of the biggest cokeheads you'd ever want to meet until later in his career when he started going to church and he mellowed out and totally turned his life around and his attitude changed at the same time. And he became a much harder worker and whatnot too. But as far as what you were saying, Kingpin, I don't think you can separate Shawn Michaels' career into sections like that because it's all one big lump of one of the greatest professional wrestlers ever. I mean, whether say what you will about his attitude and the clique and their politicking backstage and everything, Shawn Michaels is one of the greatest professional wrestlers that ever stepped into the ring. He, like Savage, had the ability to go in the ring and he could talk on the mic. He was technically sound. He could do the flippy stuff when he, for the time period. I mean, he couldn't do some of the stuff I'm sure that they do now, but for that time period, the flips and stuff that they did back then, he was able to do all of it. So, you know, that was, yeah, HBK is one of the greatest ever. But, and Guns Barbecue, so what about HBK overselling for Hogan? That's because he didn't want to. But that's because he didn't think Hogan should have been wrestling anymore at that point. There, and Vince forced him to take the match. He didn't want to do it. So I mean, that was his way of protesting doing the match. And there were a lot of guys that felt the same way at that point. There were a lot of guys that were not happy about Hogan being there at that point because they felt it was taking away their spotlight. And in a way, they're right. It was. Hogan at that point was over the hill. He Hogan was never the best wrestler, and this was at his worst, right? This was Hogan at his worst. He gets the WrestleMania pay-per-view main event against The Rock when he could barely walk. No.
All right, here I got one for you. Well, it's always a hot topic in the 2A quote unquote community. Uh, do you think that what do you think that most wrestling fans get down and deep into it, like somebody like you and somebody like Ellis that knows about the behind the scenes stuff and all that, or do you think most of them are just surface fans that just like the entertainment, just want to be entertained, enjoy this for 2 hours, and then go home or watch something else on TV? Or do you think a lot of them, a large percentage of wrestling fans, really get down into the nitty gritty, like the details? Kind of like with the 2A, either everything about guns and gun laws and all that kind of stuff, or you're just kind of you got a gun and that's all you need to know.
All you gotta do is look up all the YouTube channels that have to do with wrestling and look at the millions of followers they have. There are wrestling channels out there that have more followers than a lot of your big channels having to do with firearms combined.
And I would think that would probably be possible because a lot of people. You think about the Star Wars and Star Trek fans, and other kind of people who are NASCAR fans know what kind of coffee Bill Elliott liked to drink on Tuesday, and Hollywood knows what Will Smith had for breakfast on Friday, and different stuff like. So I guess that makes sense when it comes to something like entertainment like that, as opposed to more of I guess you could say a hobby or a lifestyle or whatever you would consider yourself with firearm.
Yeah, here's the real crazy part. There are channels out there, wrestling channels on YouTube that have more followers than the viewership of Raw, SmackDown, AEW, NXT, any of them, any wrestling show right now. There are wrestling channels on YouTube that have more followers than people that actually tune in on a weekly basis to watch the wrestling shows on TV. Crazy, right?
Yeah, man. The internet's crazy.
Yeah. And we've been joined up there by Wheeled and Well Armed. Hello, sir.
We're gonna have wrestling chat every night of the week. All right. Uh, Ellis has got Saturday. Rich, you take Monday. I'll take Tuesday night
No,
at
can't
9
do
o'clock.
Monday. Can't.
No, we're taking over this stuff. No more, no more being nice. You're taking Monday. That's what's happening.
I can't do Monday. No, I can't do Monday.
Okay, well you take Tuesday then. I'll take Monday. Midnight, you got Wednesday. Guns and Barbecue, you got Thursday. Jason Stewart was out there. He's got Friday. This is going to be a wrestling chat
Well,
takeover.
wouldn't Jason have Thursday already?
He's going to have to do two shows, or he's going to, and some whoever's on Thursdays is going to have to quirk him. See, this is why we can't get anything done. You got Midnight came up with an idea. I went full blast with it, and now everybody's no, we can't do that. I got
No,
this,
you went overboard with it. He just said you start a show.
and here you come up with a plan.
He says you start a show, and all of a sudden you're scheduling everybody a show.
Look, Midnight even got me a name, Wrestling with a Boner. You know, how much better can that get? All that work Midnight's doing, and you're just destroying it, Rich. Thanks.
No, all I say is you're overthinking what Midnight said. And Wheeled and Well Armed is at his lake house with 9 friends from his hometown.
Yeah, that's awesome. I heard him talking about that on Rick's show earlier, man. That's really cool.
And the blind guy once again spelled something wrong. It's
Well,
Quirk.
yeah,
Cork.
but you gotta give him. He not only is he blind, but he's also new, so he probably doesn't know who Quark is
Uh,
and the whole story behind Quarking.
uh-huh. Well, we can't remember. We can't spell check the blind guy. So
Well, that's what I'm saying. Give him a break.
the Midnight says that's a lot of naked dudes at one lake house. He would.
Yeah, Midnight doesn't want any more than 5 naked dudes at any lake house.
Yeah.
He's tested that out a few times, and he figured 5 is the best number.
No, he's as bad as Tennessee. Tennessee, you can't have 10 women in a house or it's a brothel. You know. So Midnight's number limit is at 9, and then it's a brothel. He says 6 was too many.
Oh, 6. Okay, my bad. I'm sorry, dude. I read the newsletter and I just kind of skimmed through it, so my bad. If you didn't know, Midnight's got a naked guy newsletter he sends out once a month.
Thank God I don't get it.
I tried to block his email, but he's crafty with the internet, so I can't get away from him.
With my luck, he'd probably text it to me. But he doesn't, so I'm safe. For now, anyway, because now he knows I don't get it. Ugh! I feel like I just Charlie Browned myself.
Did you try to kick a football?
Huh?
Did you just try to kick a football?
Yeah, and I pulled it away myself. I gave myself a rock for trick or treat.
Midnight's a trip.
I sent myself a Christmas card that I didn't send.
Sport ball. There you go. Don't get me started on sport ball.
Do you see Guns and Barbecue's comment?
Unfortunately. Yeah, my eyesight works good, so I definitely saw it.
Yeah. Wheel to Alarm says, great food, lots of beer and bourbon. He won $100 in the football squares.
Nice. Hopefully, gambling's legal where you're at, because it'd be a shame if somebody on the internet reported you.
I don't think Midnight would stoop that low.
He probably wouldn't, but I think I would. $20 is $20. If I got to blackmail one of my friends, I'm going to do it. Midnight's done some things with a blackmail for $20.
Oh, I'm sure he has. We know he knows Rob and has seen him in person. So just saying. Just saying.
I thought Midnight was supposed to do a show where everybody from gun channels gets a wrestling name and a finishing move. Did he do that, chat? No, I just missed it.
I don't remember.
No, Midnight. Lipstick is customer request. They get to pick the color that they want.
Oh boy. Well, we still got 7 people out there watching this.
Yeah. Well, people are interested in hearing you talk bad about Midnight. Told you that should be after you do your wrestling show, run that right into the Let's Talk Bad About Midnight show, and that'll be a hit.
Midnight says, "Hell yeah, that was one of the weeks he was sick, so we could do that Sunday. You must know if you're in."
I'm gonna try, man. Absolutely, I want to try. I can't hang out for 5 or 6 hours, but I'll definitely try to hop in there.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, tomorrow night's my 100th episode too. I got to figure out what the hell we're gonna do for that.
And if you didn't see, I was already practicing Midnight because I've got my finish move. It's called the gutter ball,
Yeah,
and where I take it's kind of visual, so you're gonna have to imagine it. But I take and do like circles with my fist in the air, and then ram my right elbow right in your crotch, and that's my finishing move.
yeah, and you better be there tomorrow night for the 100th episode, man. I'm telling you,
Oh
man.
yeah, I'll be there. You know that.
Christ, you're essentially the unofficial co-host. I think you've been on the show more than anybody else.
I was surprised when Gary did his 100th episode breakdown. I was surprised that I was on as many episodes of that as I was. I've had to miss a whole bunch of them lately.
Okay, who allowed that comment?
Midnight.
Probably.
No, it was me, but I'm blaming it on Midnight.
Oh, oh, if you would have just
Oh
said,
shoot! I didn't even read it. See, that's what I get for giving the blind guy credit.
see why I asked who allowed that
Gee.
one? That's like, no more. We're done with that. And he goes and brings it up. Something we talked about, what, 2 hours ago?
And I was bragging about his sense of humor earlier, and I take that all back.
Uh-huh. Oh, my Lord in heaven.
You see any of them wrestlers get elected to politics? I know
Glenn
that there was
Jacobs.
one guy in California, and then
Yeah, you got
Undertaker, not Undertaker,
Kane.
Kane was running for Senate in Texas or Tennessee.
No, he's the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee.
Yeah,
His real name's Glenn Jacobs. And then there's a guy in Florida. What the hell's his name? I can see his face right now.
he's a younger guy.
Yeah, Matt Morgan.
Yeah, real big dude.
Yeah. Both are solid Republican guys, too.
Yeah. Yeah, Undertaker went to the high school that's like, a few miles from here.
And he's a real heavy Second Amendment guy, too. He was at SHOT Show last year. And he's got all kinds of guns. So wrestlers who are pro-gun, you got Undertaker, obviously Kane, Matt Morgan. Trying to see, here's some others. I remember Stone Cold Steve Austin, Shawn Michaels, Lesnar's a hunter. I don't know if he's big into 2A, but I know he's a very avid hunter. Rick Rude was. Stone Cold got him into hunting and firearms.
And I said
Passed away.
Batista, big gun guy. And then he threw up on me.
Batista's a big leftist.
Oh, okay. So I guess that's what I get for trusting him.
Yeah.
I guess that's a lesson. Don't believe everything you read on the
Brian
internet.
Pillman was pro gun. No, he honestly was. You put aside the stupid storyline where he tried shooting, I forget who it was. Brian Pillman actually was a pro gun guy. He owned a lot of guns. Trying to think.
What do you think Brock Lesnar should have did? You think he should have stayed with wrestling? Or do you think he should have not messed with the UFC or stayed in the UFC and learned how to fight or what?
Well, the thing with the UFC is that's when he was going through the stomach disorder he had.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one match he got hit in the stomach and just completely folded.
Yeah. Well, that's why he had that.
Well, he went,
That could have killed him when he got punched in his stomach like that with the disorder he had. This was before they knew he had it. This is how they found out he had it. It could have killed him.
I don't know how the whole Brock Lesnar thing because I never watched him wrestle. I just saw him talk in wrestling, but how that went over, like him just running into guys and slamming them on the ground, like if that was popular and a thing. But
Brock Lesnar could tie you up into so many damn knots if he wanted to. It's not even funny. The guy is a former NCAA national champion amateur wrestler. At his size, he can do flips like you wouldn't believe when he was younger.
when he
I mean,
when
he's
he tried to be a UFC fighter, he forgot to learn how to fight. I mean, I get it. The guy's massive. When he took the belt from Randy Couture, he ran across the ring, grabbed him, and crushed him into a little ball and pounded on him. And then Randy Couture, was out. That
yeah,
that only rode for a little while. Once people got past that and realized that the guy really didn't have any longevity in the ring as far as fighting skills, then he needed to go learn how to fight. And I think that's where then, like you said, he had the issue where he had to go out for a long time. He didn't get a chance to train to become a good
no,
fighter. He never
yeah,
learned how to use his wrestling while he was getting punched in the face or kicked in the stomach.
right. He went out there to be a striker originally. If he'd have morphed into a grappler, he'd have been beating everybody using grapples because he has that ability in him. Like I said, he is a former NCAA national champion wrestler. That's not easy to do. He won that title more than once.
Yeah, I think he had a lot of potential. And aside from missing all that time, he for a while there he seemed like he was interested in learning the finer movements and the finer aspects of the fighting world that would non-scripted fighting world. And I just think with all the time that he missed, he didn't get enough, and the talent level passed him so quickly because in the UFC the talent level will go for 3 or 4 years kind of stagnant at a high level, and then it'll triple or double. And then you'll get this just unbelievable amount of people that'll come in that are just crushing everybody. And then that'll be stagnant for a year or two. And then another group of real hot people come in. And I think those cycles that Lesnar missed was just too much to make up for.
Yeah, Guns and Barbecue agrees. He says if it wasn't for his diverticulitis, thank you, I forgot what the name of the disease was, he would have had much better longevity. Yeah, he would. He would have. He would have been able to stick around. He would have. He could have incorporated grappling into his fighting style, and he would have been just about unstoppable at that point. because he actually had the natural talent to do that kind of stuff. Whereas some of these guys, they were doing the judo and stuff, or they were strikers. He could have done both. He could have had the striking and the excuse me, and the grappling and yeah, yeah. Like Guns Barbecue says, 280-pound men aren't supposed to have the speed and agility that Brock Lesnar has. He's the
Yeah,
definition of a freak.
that's what I mean. If he could have got some real hardcore training camps in and became a professional UFC fighter, I don't know. I mean, who's going to beat him?
Yeah, I don't think anybody would have.
Yeah, I agree with Midnight. Like when he first came into the UFC, that's what he was about. I'm a big, strong guy, and I'm going to run over there and grab you and squeeze the life out of you, and then smash you with a few hammer fists until you go to sleep. And he figured that was enough to get him through. And then when he was sick and he came back, he tried to learn the aspects of fighting, but it was just too late.
The fact that he was able to overcome the diverticulitis and still get to the point that he has with wrestling is insane. Most people that would have ended their career.
That's like one of the smart things Ronda Rousey did. You know, Ronda Rousey found out that she'd met her match,
Mm-hmm.
and the new class of fighters coming along in the women's division were going to destroy her. So she was like, hey, look, I'm going to go become a millionaire over in WWF wrestling.
Midnight says Vader's moonsault was more impressive than Lesnar's frog flop or whatever it was called. Now you've obviously not seen Lesnar properly do a what the hell was it? Shooting star press. Vader would never have been able to do a shooting star press. Lesnar did one at WrestleMania and was told never do it again, but that was what happened wasn't his fault. The fault there was with Kurt Angle because Kurt Angle wasn't where he was supposed to be, so Lesnar tried to overcompensate to make up for Angle's mistake, which is what in professional wrestling you're taught to do. If somebody screws up, you're supposed to cover for them, and that Lesnar tried doing that, and that's why Lesnar almost broke his neck doing the move. If you watch the videos with him training that, Lesnar did an inverted flip midnight. That's more impressive than a backflip. I'm sorry. And there's guys just as big as Vader that can do that without having to climb to a rope now. Vader's moonsault for the time was impressive. Now, not so much.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with the Guns and Barbecue real quick before I stir the pot. But Ronda Rousey has a lot of heat with the female locker room in WWE. I can understand that. Ronda Rousey's a raging, you know what. But Midnight says, man with a backflip wins. Ball back in your court, Rich.
Big man, almost as big of a man with a shooting star press wins because shooting star press is harder to do.
Explain real quick in the layman's terms what a shooting star press is. Everybody understands what a backflip is.
Okay, I will demonstrate with Megatron what a shooting star press is. You're on the top rope in the corner facing your opponent. You do this.
Your camera's not on yet.
Yes, it's on.
Oh, I'm looking at the other screen. My bad.
Yeah.
Sorry.
See, here's the corner. Your guy's down here. You do this. An inverted flip and land on him. A moonsault is just a simple backflip. This
Yeah, but you got to think if you're coming off the top rope, that's
this is harder to do.
I understand that, but off the top rope as opposed to a 300-pound dude going from his flat feet to a
No,
backflip?
no. Vader didn't do that from his flat feet. Vader did that from the ropes.
Oh, okay. I was just assuming. All right, Midnight, it's back to you. He's on
There
the.
is a guy almost Vader's size. His name's Willie Mack. He does the moonsault from the ground.
Well, Guns and Barbecue wins. He said Andre the Giant does flips off the top rope all the time.
No, he doesn't. He's dead.
Oh, he said he used to. I'm sorry. He used to.
I don't remember ever seeing Andre do a flip.
I don't know. Guns and Barbecue said it. It's on the internet. It's got to be true.
But yeah, I'm sorry. Lesnar doing a shooting star press is more impressive. By the way, Lesnar's not the only big guy that could do that. That wasn't allowed by Vince McMahon's edict. Batista could do that too.
All right. Now Midnight comes back with a backflip. You don't have much of a line of sight.
Backflips are easier to do. It's
Uh,
just a simple. If you ask gymnasts, the backflip is one of the easiest moves to do.
all
If
right.
you're doing top rope, it's so easy.
Let me understand. You said Vader did his flip off the rope. So I'm assuming he was in the corner on the top
Yeah,
rope and then did a backflip onto an opponent.
yeah.
And then you're saying Brock Lesnar did an inverted backflip on top of an opponent.
No, he did an inverted front flip, but you just with the backflip, you still lose sight of your opponent for the same amount of time,
All right,
and your
so
opponent's not
Brock
moving. So
Lesnar,
once you got
Brock
your
Lesnar
point of
was
view, you have
facing
your
his
point of view.
opponent. Brock Lesnar was standing on the top rope facing his opponent,
Mm-hmm.
and he jumped out and threw his feet in the air, put his feet over his head in the air, and came down on his belly.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. That's harder than a backflip off the top rope.
Exactly. It's an inverted. Yeah, you're flipping front, but you're inverted. You're inverting in the flip wheel and what arm. It's an inverted front flip. It's a it's a lot harder than a just a simple backflip, which is what the moonsault is. Now Jericho's got the hardest version of a moonsault. His lion salt. He runs across the ring, jumps up on the second rope, and flips backwards at the same time. That's hard because it incorporates balance on one rope, not two, and he has to hit that rope just right, or he's going to go flying through the ropes.
That would be hilarious. Could you imagine this? Picture this: Midnight. Midnight's got you in the original. What do they call the lockup when when the wrestlers first walk up and grab each other?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Midnight's got you there, and then you're released, and he grabs you again, and he whips you across the ropes, and he bounces across the ropes and gives you the elbow cross, and then he comes flying up to jump on the. he jumps up to fly off the middle rope and scream right out the ring.
Would Midnight fit between the ropes?
Of course he would.
Midnight says, "Okay, let's just decide to agree. Hogan sucked." uh,
Or we could do this. We could have me and Rob D versus Midnight and Guns and Barbecue, and me and Rob D finish him off by giving Guns and Barbecue and Midnight Range the Road Warrior finishing move.
the Doomsday Device.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, which one would be worse, the Doomsday Device or the Heart Attack?
I probably think the collapsed spine if me and Rob tried to pick either one of those guys up and put them on our shoulders.
Well, do you remember what the Heart Attack was?
No.
That was Jim the Anvil Neidhart holding somebody in a bear hug, and then Bret Hart running the ropes and then coming in doing a flying clothesline
All
above
right.
Neidhart's head.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Yeah, that was their finishing move as a tag team. Basically, it would become a spine buster clothesline combination move, a running clothesline.
Sons of Barbecue said he'll never see it coming. That's that's not wrong. You're not
He's
wrong.
not lying. Here's the thing:
Tell us how you really feel, Midnight.
Hogan did more damage to himself doing that leg drop than he did his opponents. Every time he did that leg drop, he landed on his tailbone. He was doing spinal damage to himself every single time he did that leg drop. It caused him to have a hip replacement and have rods holding his back together.
And for most of his career, he was on a canvas. You know, it's not like he spent his entire career on plywood with a bed sheet over top.
Yeah, I mean, Hogan has shrunk 3 inches during his career because of his spine being compressed so much from doing that leg drop.
The match is set, Rich. We got to get the venue. Me and Rob D versus Guns and Barbecue at midnight. The Mega Powers.
Oh man, who's Hogan and who's Savage?
Uh, I don't know. I'm not. I can't speak for those guys. They're the enemies.
I'm asking them.
Oh, ask them.
I did.
Well, if they were faster with the fingers, they'd have answered by now.
Uh huh. And what are you and Rob going to call yourselves?
That's confidential. Just like we talked about earlier, we're not giving any secrets up.
I don't think a team name's going to be a secret.
Thanks for the compliment, Midnight.
Is that like the Grinch's heart growing 3 sizes that day? Which, if you think about it, was still not good. I mean, he went from having too small of a heart to having way too big of a heart.
Right? Yeah. Well, Midnight's definitely going to choose that he's going to be Hogan. I think he's going to pick he's going to be uh, Hogan Ultimate Warrior mix. G23's in the house.
What the hell did Hogan and Ultimate Warrior call themselves when they were a tag team?
Suckies.
No, they actually had a name. It was along the same lines as the Mega Powers, but not that one. The Mega Powers was Hogan and Savage, and that was a year-long storyline. That was actual development. You know, G23's out there now. Damn it, I can't remember what the hell they called themselves. There ain't going to be an outdoor show in 2021, Guns and Barbecue. What are you talking about? They already canceled it.
Well, we're uncanceling it. We're starting our own outdoor show. You know, probably Rob and I are probably going to have to wear, you know, big heavy starter jackets or something like that because it's going to be cold outside in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Guns and Barbecue got it. It was the Ultimate Maniacs. Thank you. It was driving me nuts. I could not remember.
What a terrible name.
Well, it was the Hulkamaniacs and the Ultimate Warrior, and so it was the Ultimate Maniacs.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I forget what the Ultimate Warrior called his fans. He had a goofy name like Hogan did for him. But
The
they
Ultimate
couldn't get
Warrior
that.
reminds me of when they bring like an NPC character on a failing TV show. Yeah,
Okay,
cousin Ralph is here from New Mexico to live with us now, and then it's like canceled the next season.
no, that was on Cousin Oliver. Yeah, but Guns and Barbecue meant 2022. It gives you a year to build up the match. See, he's thinking old school storytelling here. Unless it's just what they're doing now with Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio, where they just do something every damn week for 5 months. God, you want to talk about a story that won't die? They've had as many interactions in 5 months as what Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes did in 20 years. Or at least it seems like it. Just when you thought they were going to stop the storyline, they drafted Rey Mysterio rather over to SmackDown. They did a storyline trade where Raw traded some Seth Rollins for somebody else. It's like, oh, they're going to continue this storyline.
All right, I think I got a name for the match. We can call it the Rumble and the Humble, and we'll do it in Amish territory in Pennsylvania.
Hey man, get them Amish to do a barn raising, only it'll be a ring raising. They'll have that thing built in an hour.
Yeah, but it'll be expensive. Those Amish don't come cheap.
Yeah, but it'll be real wood, not plywood.
Yeah, yeah, it'll hold up pretty nice, and it'll have a nice resale value too. Because if you can sell somebody a truly Amish-made ring, that'd probably sell for a good amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get Lebanon Levi to be the referee. I don't know if you remember the Amish Mafia from television.
No, I've never watched it. So.
Oh, dude, you should. That was the greatest thing ever.
No, we'll get Patriot to be the referee.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, the
Well,
referees act like they're blind, so we'll just get a blind guy.
yeah, I don't know because Patriot is a good dude and I trust him completely, but are we really going to have a blind guy referee a match where another blind guy is wrestling?
Are you sightist?
Well, no, I'm just not trying to not trying to have a whole bunch of votes come in at the 3 o'clock in the morning and
Hey, have you
then
have you
drop
watched
the title.
have you watched a WWE match lately?
By
You
the
got
way, Rob,
referees counting 3 counts on people that have their shoulders up for crying out loud. They are blind.
well, yeah, always the hockey thing, Halloween when the Capitals would have their costume contest. Every year there would be a blind referee.
That
But
explains why the Capitals never call for penalties when they play the Penguins in MCI Center.
that's because the Penguins are cheaters.
No, the Capitals are the cheaters. They're the ones not getting called for penalties.
Penguins are cheaters.
No.
And anything from Pittsburgh's bad.
Mm-hmm. You're just mad because we got more Stanley Cups and more Super Bowl trophies. And
No,
more World
no.
Series titles, too.
Honestly, what I'm mad about is the Capitals usually have a better season than every other team for the past forever, and then losing the first round of the playoffs. That's what I'm angry about.
Well, no, second round.
First and second round, yeah, usually. It's even more. It's even more painful when it's the second round. It's the Penguins that put them out.
Which more often than not has happened. Out of 10 meetings in the second round, the Pens have won 9 of them.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. I thought we were talking about wrestling. So spent the midnight. That was funny. Sport puck.
Hey, I finally got a sport that Kingpin watches, and Midnight's going to get mad.
Nah, Sport puck can take a pound too because they gave the whole Black Lives Matter rep at the beginning of the season. So screw hockey too.
Yeah. I don't know how much the players were on board with that, but and they didn't do it for long, like the others did. NFL really didn't do it for long, depending on which team it is.
Are you blind? Do we need
No,
to get you? Are you crazy? Are you
no,
crazy?
I'm being honest. You
They
look at
spent all last season doing it, plus the whole Colin Kaepernick pickle whole situation.
no. I'm talking about the teams, not the league. Team wise. If you look at uh, I was shocked when the Steelers played Baltimore in Baltimore that Baltimore had the Black Lives Matter thing on the pads on between the seats and the field. Heinz Field doesn't have that.
Well, Baltimore City, the Ravens Stadium is about
I
5 minutes away from the riots.
I know where it is. It's right across from where the National Aquarium and stuff is. It's right there by Camden Yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Baltimore sucks. Baltimore.
Uh-huh. I don't think they had that stuff in AT&T Stadium either. It's where the Cowboys play. I don't remember seeing that when the Steelers played the Cowboys on their state written on the stadium like that either. So not all the teams are as board with that as some of the others are. That's all I was saying. The league itself, yeah, the individual teams don't seem to be as much.
Well, they're just racist.
Oh, Midnight, you're lucky she ain't in here right now. Guns and Barbecue asked Midnight if Mia will be Miss Elizabeth, and he said no, Miss Elizabeth liked Randy.
Uh-huh. Well, yeah, but Guns and Barbecue is the Randy in this.
Oh,
And just in case you missed it earlier, Rob and I are the champions, by the way.
Hey, you know what? That could be the implosion.
See, you don't see me and Rob having any problems over here. We're a well-oiled team.
That was the implosion between Savage and Hogan, with Savage getting jealous over Miss Elizabeth hanging with Hogan.
Well, that's what happens. You get those PA guys involved and shenanigans start coming up. Just saying. You don't see any drama coming from the Rob D. Kingpin camp.
Yeah, well, now he wants to trade rules with Midnight if Mia will be Elizabeth.
It's falling apart already. Midnight's even taking shots.
Yeah. But what could have been a great tag team is falling apart right before our eyes.
Instead of saying oiled, I should have said greased or lubricated machine. Maybe Midnight would approve of those things instead of oiled.
It would be a well-larded. Who stole the Crisco?
Atomic ass flop. Yeah, I teed that up for Midnight, but I guess he wasn't. I guess he was too busy trying to conjure up that last comment. He had to call his writing team and get it all edited and ready to go.
Wasn't the big match Jake the Snake and who else went? I don't know who else. I don't know. When Hogan goes back with Elizabeth and leaves Randy alone. Yeah, but that was the whole angle where Elizabeth was supposed to be hurt, and Randy didn't see her get injured, and so Hogan was carrying her back. He didn't know why Hogan was left, and he was all pissed off. And yeah. I don't remember who they were fighting though. I don't know if it was Jake and somebody else or not. I don't remember. I just remember everybody remembers what the outcome of the match was. Nobody remembers who the hell they were fighting. They are going to pull a revival and shave each other's backs. That's one of the reasons why the revival is now the FTR in AEW. Having to do that stupid thing when they were feuding with, I forget who. Was it the Usos? Yeah, that was the Usos. When they were feuding with the Usos. Don't ask Kingpin, you don't want to know.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. Sorry about that.
Guns and Barbecue knows what I'm talking about because he's the one who brought it up. But yeah. But I mean, you're much better off not knowing. It was a really stupid storyline. And ultimately led to the Revival, who is one of the better tag teams in the world right now, leaving WWE because they didn't feel appreciated. and they're now in AEW, and just lost the World Tag Team titles there to the Young Bucks. Oh, so Midnight, they're going to be Chucky and Billy, is what you're saying. If you guys remember that nonsense. Speaking of stupid storylines, Chucky and Billy was a stupid thing. They play him up as being gay, and they're going to have they're going to get married, but they're like, "What are you talking about? We're not gay." You're like, "There's my wife right there." That was one of the stupidest goddamn storylines ever. Like, if you're not gay and you're already married, why the hell are you having a wedding? Didn't make any goddamn sense whatsoever. Guns and Barbecue says Midnight Range TM. I should probably be Hogan on account of me being bald. Has he not seen Midnight? Oh yeah, that's right. He hasn't. You both had the same follically challenged problem there, Guns and Barbecue.
They actually look like twin brothers, really. And Guns and Barbecue's got a little different beard action going on, but
Does he have all the tattoos?
I didn't say they were the same person. I just said they could be brothers.
I was just asking if he had the tattoos. I don't know. I haven't seen his videos. That's what I'm asking.
I don't think he has any tattoos. Not that I'm aware of. I can't remember.
He says he only has one. That's enough. But they could be the tattooed dudes. Yeah, that's it. Because this Mega Powers thing ain't going to work.
No, It's not like Rob and I are undefeated. We haven't lost a title match yet.
See, look at this. Midnight's already going after his own tag team partner here. He says he has Peppa Pig tattooed beside his beehole.
I told you.
See?
That's the power. Rob and I. That's we psychologically break down our opponents well before the match.
Yeah, and Rob's not even here.
This match isn't going to be for another year and a half.
Yeah, Rob's not even here, and they're already falling apart just from this. Now he wants to be the Brothers of Destruction. Neither one of you are tall enough for that.
They could be the PA posse, and then you just misspell posse.
No, at this point, they're going to be the Malkies.
You're right.
You and Rob can be Doom. But you have to find somebody to be Sensational Sherry.
You know, and there's going to be a Trump rally scheduled that day. Cause that midnight might have just broke our whole thing down. Because Rob will probably get drunk and fall out. And if there's a Trump rally that day, I missed the Trump rally today because I'm smart enough not to go to stuff like that. But
I don't think that'll work either in Guns and Barbecue.
don't use shoe polish. Governor Northam says that's real hard to get off your face.
Yeah. Ron Simmons will show up and go, "Damn!"
Well, I might grab one of those pork barbecue sandwiches before I leave for the rally.
And Guns and Barbecue says Stacy can be Sensational Sherry.
Just Hop right in, jump right in both feet, Mystic Guns. Don't worry about details. Just go with it.
Yeah, yes. But there's no point in details. Just go with it at this point. Cra- Crazy Karen. Oh man, Midnight's gonna get himself in trouble.
She'll have a megaphone, and she'll be screaming from the corner, "I want to see the manager! I want to see the manager! Put your mask on."
Have you seen the clip yet of the referee whose mask broke during the Steelers and Baltimore game?
No,
He was
I'm
taking
not
his.
a communist. I don't watch football.
Yeah, I didn't know if you saw the clip or not.
I'm not a communist. I don't watch ESPN.
I'll use other places so you can see the clip. Anyway, the referees have to take their mask off to make calls on the field and then put the mask back on again. The strap broke on his mask. He took the mask and threw it on the ground. He was pissed. He got fined $300,000 by the NFL.
Because his Wufu mask came off?
Yeah, because his mask broke and he didn't have another one to replace it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodbye, NFL.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin just got fined $300,000 for not wearing his during the game. He had one of the Gators on. He pulled it off and never put it back up. They popped him for $300,000 in the Dallas game. It's absolute bullshit.
You just have to accept my resignation.
Yeah, they're around these players all week long. They're around their coaching staff all week long, not wearing masks. They go to a stadium that is empty, and the NFL fines you if you don't wear a mask. What the hell logic is this? The players aren't wearing masks. You know, you don't see the players going off the field, taking their helmets off, putting masks on. The players are not wearing masks, but the coaching staff better wear a mask or they're getting fined. The officials better wear a mask or they're getting fined. It's stupid. It's absolute stupidity.
I'm all screwed up here. I hit the wrong button and now my YouTube screen's all messed up.
Uh-oh.
All right. I think I fixed it.
Mystic says she does not know this snob you speak of.
I can explain. Yeah, okay.
God, do we have to have snob as Howard Finkel? That's an insult to Howard Finkel.
I'll go
He's
ahead. I'll go ahead and fill everybody in on Snob. Everybody sit down and get comfortable. This is going to take a while. He's pretty awesome, so this might take a long time for me to get through. Snob is the most fantastic, wonderful person that is married to Mr. Guns and lives in Oklahoma and has a YouTube channel, The Real Gun Snob, that anybody's ever met.
That's kind of a backhanded compliment there, Kingpin. I mean, you put a lot of conditions on that.
Am I wrong?
Didn't say you were wrong. I just said you put a
Oh,
lot
I
of
did
conditions on that.
I'm not wrong.
Oh, Mystics want me to mute you. Well, who the hell am I going to talk to if I mute him? Come on. He's the only person that got a link.
I just reported Mystic, by the way.
What you do, text mom?
No, I hit the three little buttons beside her name, and now that we can only block and report, I just went ahead and reported her because I don't want to block her. Susan Wojcicki needs to know about her shenanigans out here in the chat. That's right, and I am being bullied. Now we've got witnesses.
Put the link in the chat. I mean, no, that's not something I do. My name is not Alan B. Pro or Ghost Tactical or Black Cat Outdoors.
I used to throw the link in the chat all the time, and I never got anybody in there.
I know. I'm just joking around.
But I mean,
At this
Black
point,
Cat
we're not.
never got anybody in there until Amber showed up either.
Yeah. And like I said, at this point, we're not even really on topic, and there's only 4 people out there. So,
Yeah, and I only got about 5 more minutes, and I gotta hit the hay.
here, I'll throw the link out there. Not that we're going to be going much longer. I don't think. We've already been going almost 3 hours on a 1-hour show. uh, the plane ride from hell. That's the one where Lesnar and who was it? Was it Lesnar and Angle got into it? There's all kinds of bullshit that happened on that plane ride. Mr. Perfect, okay. And it was somebody I couldn't remember who it was. But yeah, they got into it and all kinds of other craziness happened.
Kurt Angle was okay. I wasn't a fan of him, but I tolerated him, I guess. But what I didn't like about him is he always talked trash about the UFC fighters, but never got in the ring and fought.
Well, Angle won the Olympic gold medal with a broken neck.
Yeah, and Angle used that Olympic gold medal with a broken neck to talk all kinds of trash about UFC fighters and their takedowns and their wrestling skills, but never decided to put on the 4-ounce gloves and get in the octagon.
Well, that's because he was an Olympic wrestler that won the gold medal with a broken neck, and they weren't.
Shut your mouth if you're not going to back it up. He talked a bunch of trash about whipping all these guys, but never fought
Yeah,
on them.
I know. I'm joking around. I'm joking.
Kingpin's gonna start doing blows over here. He's start punching people.
Guns and Barbecue saying Angle tried, but Dana White wouldn't let him. That's a possibility too. Dana White tries to control that with an iron hand.
I did hear about Dana White not being a big fan of him coming over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you here to tell us about how great Snob is?
No, I'm going to tell the opposite.
Oh, by the way, another guy that Dana White wouldn't let in UFC is Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is a guy that legitimately, if they were to get into a fight, could compete with Brock Lesnar one-on-one in a MMA match. They are both former NCAA champions. Bobby Lashley is also the former Army amateur wrestling champion, and they both can punch and hit hard as all hell. They're both big guys. I would not want to have to break up a fight between Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar if they were to go at it.
Bobby Lashley's that guy that looks like a He-Man doll, but he's a black dude, right?
Yeah, he's a huge black dude.
Yeah, that dude's like you see a guy like that and you think that's not a human. Like they built that guy somewhere.
Yeah, but when he quit wrestling for WWE, he tried going over to UFC. Dana White wouldn't let him, so he went over to Bellator instead.
I don't even know any.
Championship.
Yeah, I don't know any of those people you just talked about.
Where were you Thursday?
Out to dinner.
Dinner's more important than Jason's show. Okay, how much you missing now?
It is when Snob is dying to go to Texas Roadhouse. And then we decided to invite his mom and wait for her to get off work. And by the time we got there and got in the Texas Roadhouse, it was like 7. And then the time we ate crap, it was like 8:30 before we left. He was dying for Texas Roadhouse.
Hopefully Jason understands.
Otherwise, Snob whines and whines and whines and says, "Come on, let's go." So we go.
Did you
So
put that shadow on layaway yet?
no, not yet. It's at Sports World, and they don't really have layaway.
Wait a minute. You go into Sports World Tulsa and tell them that you're Mystic Guns, aka used to be Snob's wife, the Oklahoma's own gun snob,
Used to be.
then they wouldn't let you do a layaway.
I think they have a small layaway. I don't know, but yeah, they probably would. But I haven't gotten around. He hasn't been working as much. I mean, he's still working, making good money, but we had like 4 days of nonstop rain, and so there's a bunch of houses to go out, but the guy who sets them is running around trying to set them for all the different lots, or set a few for this one, a few for that one, a few for that one, and once he gets all the houses set, then we'll go back to making, about like as normal.
Yeah.
But rain impacts everything. But it literally rained here for 4 days straight.
Oh, is that all?
When you live on a dirt road,
I know. I've been there.
yeah, my car is so muddy, and it's still. I mean, you can barely see my tag. Until I need to go wipe my tag off because I'll get pulled over again because they can't see my tag.
So, speaking of guns, did you see the gun I want, Kingpin? The CZ I want? The other day when Jason was doing his show?
Oh, I'm not too sure. I was watching the show, but I don't remember.
Okay. I'll screen share it then. If I can find where I put that. There it is. All right. Yeah, check this out.
Oh yeah, you were showing that the other day.
Yeah. I don't know if Kingpin saw it or not.
What show was that? I don't even remember what show it was.
That was on Jason's show.
Oh yeah, I got in on the last, and I did get on Jason's show. I got on for like the last 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
The last hour. You were already gone, Kingpin.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is I want this.
75 is a nice gun. I got the SPO1.
Yeah. Now you want to see the price on it?
Let me guess first.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess, give or take. Oh, jeez. Thanks. You showed this. You showed the price.
Oh, you saw it.
Yeah.
I tried covering it back up real quick after you said let me guess first because I had uncovered. Then you said let me guess. So
I was gonna have the 800 part right, but the 1 in front of the 8 threw me off.
yeah, these are expensive.
Oh, that's the Shadow too. That's the Shadow.
No, this is the CZ75 Tactical Sport Orange. Basically the 40 Smith & Wesson version.
Why? And they want 18 for it. Wow.
Yeah, that's
you
about
get
what
the
these
Shadow
cost.
for it.
Used, I've seen these things used going for $16.50.
Yeah, you could get the Shadow and with the orange grips for relatively the same price.
Mm-hmm. But this one's a single action too.
Yeah, I'm having a battle over that Shadow because I want the blue grips and he wants the orange.
Yeah, the Shadow's double action. This is single action.
They're slightly different. It's not just the color of the grips when it comes to the Shadow. I'm not too sure about that. That's the first time I've seen the orange grips on the 75.
Well, it's just like with the Shadow. They're in a different option level or something with the grip colors.
Yeah, uh-huh.
It's the same way with this.
I'm telling you, when you've got a CZ75 in your hand, there's no way that you're going to say, I sure love my Glock.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Everybody goes through the whole spiel. Everybody's got their own likes and their own dislikes and that whole blah, blah, blah that people go through. But even the SIGs, look, I've got the 229, the 226, which are, hammer-fired guns. And when I compare it to the CZ75, the CZ is just a better gun.
Here's where you make up that price too, though. On this, there's no sales tax
Right.
because this is through the military exchange. So if I were to buy it, I won't have to pay tax on it. So that's going to lower that. It's going to bring the prices closer together by the time you buy this in a shop. Normal shop and have to pay sales tax on it. And if you buy online, you have to pay a transfer fee and everything. No transfer fee, no sales tax, but I have to pick it up at a military post. And the closest one around here that would be able to get it in is 100 and some miles away.
No, that's not that far.
What's the one closest to you?
Somewhere in Virginia. I forget where, but it's in Virginia. Because they only sell goods in post.
Look, I got a great tip for you. And call up Fort Detrick and tell them you want to have some firearms delivered there, and you're going to come pick
Dietrich's farther. Dietrich's farther than what the other one is.
If you called Fort Detrick and said that you were going to have some firearms delivered there before you got to hang off the phone, you'd have feds at your house.
No, actually, Fort Detrick is one of the exchanges there that accepts firearms, but they're farther away than the place in Virginia.
Yeah, I don't want to get anything out of Fort Detrick. That's where that's where they make all the spooky stuff.
Yeah, but the honest to God, their post exchange there is one of the ones that sells firearms.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I actually could pick this up at Fort Detrick, but like I said, it's farther away than the other.
Right.
Where's Ellis tonight?
He was sick.
Oh.
Are you going to get it?
Yeah, you didn't hear the story, but I was informing everybody. Me and Kingpin were texting. I told Kingpin I'm waiting for Ellis's link about that exact same time. Ellis messages me and tells me we're not doing the show because he's sick. So I text Kingpin, hey, Ellis is sick. We're not doing the show. I was like, you want to do a makeup show or a fill-in show? I think is how I phrased it. He's like, sure, let's do it. I was like, okay. So this is what happened.
I didn't even know you were on. I didn't even see the title on it, and I was like, what the hell? It's not Sunday.
So you're going to buy this gun or not?
I could put it on my Military Star credit card, but my wife said it's going to throw a fit if I do. So, but I want it. I damn sure want it.
Tell her it's a Christmas present.
Oh man, I mean that thing is beautiful.
What do you got? 2 kids?
3, but
You got
one of
3
them don't live
kids.
at home no more.
So there you go. You got 4 people. Your 3 kids and your wife. All of them pitch in, and there's your Christmas present.
You know what? If she were down here, I bet you talk her into it. I know it's gonna happen if I try.
Or let the Christmas present to you be let you spend your own money on a gun that you want to buy.
And looky, it's even got the thumb rest that could be removed and instead have an optic mount put there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if Val were here right now, he'd probably be drooling.
Well, it's got the decocker on it right now.
No, this is safety.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see it.
It's single action, so it's got safety on it. You can carry it cocked and locked. And I would carry this. If I got this, I would carry it.
Yeah, it's small enough. At least the one I've got small. I don't know how big that one is.
5.2 inch barrel.
But it's competition, so it'd be heavier, won't it?
Well, it's a steel frame.
They're all metal.
Yeah, this is all steel. Is the Shadow alloy or all steel?
I don't know. I mean, I can go look at the booklet real quick. I'm not sure. As far as I'm concerned, it's all metal.
Yeah, I mean it's metal, but the alloy is lighter than the steel.
It's a pretty heavy gun.
It's an the frame. If it's an alloy, it's an aluminum alloy frame. So
I don't know. I could look and find out. I'll let you know tomorrow if I remember. I just don't feel like digging through my stuff right now.
That's the weight. They give you the weight in ounces. Now I gotta do math. God. 7 pounds? Thing is 7 pounds. Maybe I won't be carrying it.
The Shadow 2 weighs like it's like a 1911.
So that can't be right. That cannot be right.
No, my Ruger AR stock is 9 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, 7 pounds. No, that can't. That's wrong. That's got to be wrong. They got their numbers wrong somewhere. Let me try this again because I believe
How
it's
many
6 to the pound, right?
How many ounces does it say?
It says 112.
112, and there's 16.
Divided by 16 is 7. It says it's 7 pounds. That can't be right. Ain't no damn way.
Are you sure it doesn't say like 1.2 ounces or 11.2 ounces?
That wouldn't be possible either.
I'm just trying to figure out. It's not possible that the handgun weighs 7 pounds either.
No, it says 112 ounces.
Is that too much or too little?
It's way too much. There's no way this thing weighs 7 pounds. And they got it listed twice as 112. They got a consumer item weight 112. Weight 112 ounces. There's no freaking way this thing weighs 112 ounces. That's 7 pounds. My Smith & Wesson 627 doesn't weigh 7 pounds. And that's got more steel in it than what this does. There's no way that this thing weighs 7 pounds.
I don't know. That seems pretty heavy to me. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But
Unless it's weighted somehow, but it doesn't say. If it has weights in the front to hold the barrel down.
7 pounds though.
Yeah, I know. My Junior RTC drill team rifle with a lead-filled barrel was 10. I don't see this thing weighing 7 pounds.
Hey, David.
Yep.
On your response, on my response to your comment that maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to have to agree. I mean, I've seen the way you talk about snob, so I'm going to agree that you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it doesn't say there's any kind of weights or anything. So
I won't even say it. No.
Their numbers have got to be off.
Oh, you're too scared to say it.
Look it up somewhere else.
That's what I'm doing. And best place to go, right to the manufacturer. Specifications. The 9mm version weighs 47.5 ounces. That seems more correct. Yeah, 2.9 pounds, 2.96 pounds. Yeah, okay, I can believe that. That one I'll believe. So, yep. So, a little under 3 pounds. So, yeah, that thing is lighter than what my Smith & Wesson is. My 627. That's what I figured. I figured that would be the case. It's still pretty.
Yeah, go buy it.
Again, my wife would kill me, man.
You can always get another way.
She would absolutely kill me. But they do have some. They did have a SIG P210 target too. That's another one I wouldn't mind having. They still have it. Yeah, there it is. And they get, look how much they want for the checkmate. This is your top of the line competition CZ75 right here. You've seen the checkmates before, haven't you, Kingpin?
What's that?
The checkmate. You've seen these before, right?
Yeah.
You didn't see the price, did you?
No, dude.
Yeah, because my hand slipped. Damn it. Yeah, these are nice. See, and that's the kind of optics mount basically you can put on the other one if you were to take off the. But you would only have two of the screws holding it. But
There you go. Clover's going to order some orange grips, so while he's at it, he can place the order for your gun.
Hey, he could just order that gun and he wouldn't have to worry about ordering the orange scripts. It would come with them. What color grips does his CZ have? I'll trade him grips.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't know either. Surprised Obnoxious doesn't have one because it has the orange grips. But he said the other day, I think he said that he doesn't have one. Yeah, I'd like to get one of these too, but ain't no way in hell I can afford that.
Yeah, you can.
No, that's almost my credit limit on my card. I got a $3,900 credit limit on that damn card. Don't know how, but I do. Then you got this, which is like the king of all 9mm target pistols.
He said he's got the gray and black G10 grips on his.
Is he out there?
Yeah, Clover's in the chat right now.
Well, he hadn't said anything for a while, so I don't know if he's still out there or not. Okay, but that's pretty. I hope I didn't have my YouTube thing up there.
Is that the 210?
Yeah, this is where, if I remember right, CZ actually got the inspiration to do the internal slide from, because you notice that's got the internal slide. And the first P210s, I believe, were made in the late 50s era, maybe before that, but they were the service weapon of the Swiss Army. And the Czechs saw them and fell in love with it or something. I don't remember the complete story, but you know, they got the
I like the slide riding on the inside of the grip frame. I think that's one of the best features about the CZs that I've got.
Yeah. It cuts down on muzzle flip, and you get a high bore axis on it. You know, you get a low bore axis, excuse me. It doesn't have the high bore axis like what most SIGs do. You gotta wonder why they went away from it with every other pistol later. Every other one of the SIG P series guns do not have the internal slide. Yeah, you know, where the slide rides like that.
How much is that one?
This one, I think they went they went 1540 for this one. This is the target model, so you're going to pay more. The standard model usually runs around 1100, 1200, and they're supposed to be coming out with a carry, but it got pushed back because of COVID and everything. It was supposed to be out this year.
There's two gun stores in Maryland that I was able to find that had PPQs, but they were all the match grades, and I just don't want that one. I want the regular, everyday PPQ with the metal frame.
Yeah, like I said, this is the target model. You can tell by the grip that's on it. The standard just has like a standard wood or polymer, depending on which one you get, because it comes with both. Either, you know, you get one that has polymer, and then right next to it they'll have one that has wood. They don't cost, the price isn't any different on them. And then they're supposed to have a carry model, which is supposed to shorten the barrel like to about where the slide ends. No, not the slide, the frame. Excuse me. So it cuts off almost an inch of length, if I remember right. So. But again, that one got pushed back because of the COVIDs. But they are really nice guns, especially if you get one of the older ones. They are super accurate. They're one of the most accurate 9mm pistols you can own. The only problems with them is it's a single stack magazine, and for the optics folks, it's going to be hard to put an optic on it.
Why would they make a single stack magazine in a match gun?
What was that?
Why would they make it a single stack magazine? That doesn't make any sense.
Because this is a bullseye shooting, not, it's not like a.
All right, I keep saying MAG, and I keep thinking it says match. Not okay. My bad. My fault.
Yeah, you get 2 magazines with it. But yeah, this is a bullseye shooting gun. This isn't one of those. This isn't what the hell was it? The one where you see them running around shooting targets.
Yeah.
This is precision, not speed and.
Yeah, Clover said, no, if you were running competition, you would easily have it drilled and tapped.
I don't know, because the way that's shaped, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be harder for them to shape it because of the way that the slide shaped itself. And the way that rear sight's mounted. You would lose your rear sight as a backup. Unless you had them dovetail and put it. But then that wouldn't work either because of the sight height. If they could put if there was enough space between the chamber and where the front of that sight starts, you might be able to get one of the smaller ones in there, and then you wouldn't have to use suppressor height sights either to co-witness because of how high that rear sight sits.
Okay, I'm going to sleep now.
Okay.
Have a good night, man. It was good chatting with you. Thanks for everybody who's hanging out in the chat. Y'all having a good night. Mystic Guns. Good night.
Leave because I'm here.
Oh, but you can handle the rest of the show. You got it. I know you got all kinds of stuff swirling around in your mind to entertain the people. So just open up and let it go.
Go to bed. You're getting a little loopy.
All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a nice night.
See ya.
Night, Kingpin.
Jeez. So what are we talking about now?
I have no idea.
All talked out.
I was trying to catch up in the comments. So you went to tell the Ultimate Warrior how much you loved him?
Oh, heck yeah. I think it was WWF. I don't even remember, but I watched it with my parents all the time and my uncle and all them and stuff. And we got every pay-per-view. We go to my uncle's house and stuff and go over there. But I remember going to it in Fresno once. And yeah, I had a huge crush on Ultimate Warrior. And there was another tag team. Who was it? Michael something, maybe something Michaels.
Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, what was the tag team?
That he was in? The Rockers.
The Rockers, yeah, I loved both of them too. Had a crushing on them too.
Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty.
Yeah, that's who it was. But yeah, I remember standing up there and Ultimate Warrior came down and yeah, up there screaming and it was a lot of fun. Only been to it that one time.
Well, if you know who Shawn Michaels is, Sensational Sherry was his manager at one time. I noticed you didn't know who that was. The dark-haired lady that was his manager.
I can't.
When he went bad
I
guy.
remember most of the. I remember about all the men that played. and stuff. I remember a lot of them, but I don't remember a lot of the females. I have to go back and look and watch and kind of see. And once I saw them and heard them, I probably remember them. But they just, I was a teenager. They weren't, I didn't care about the females. So, but my mom was huge crush on Hulk Hogan and Salvage. She actually, was it Hulk Hogan or Salvage she had a crush on? I don't remember. One of the, maybe it's both. But yeah, it's been years. I haven't watched hardly any or watched any of it since mid-90s probably.
Yeah, I mostly watch Japanese stuff now.
I don't watch any of it.
Yeah. Japanese stuff's interesting because they don't do all the interviews and stuff like they do over here with their promos and everything. Their story is told in the ring, right? You can tell what they tell the story in the ring, not out so much. You know what I mean? It's like there's a different feel to it.
Which I know, like even in the 80s and 90s, it was had all that back and forth stuff. But I remember our son watching it for a little while, and it just seemed like it was even more of a soap opera than it was in the 80s and 90s. Like it gotten a lot worse of a soap opera.
That's basically what it is. It's a soap opera combined with a stunt show.
I know, but it just didn't seem like it was that bad in the 80s and 90s. It's like it's got worse.
It's not so much that it got worse; it's a different version. It's changed, but it's still the same basic thing. It's just, and the storylines aren't as good because you get wrestlers who are good at doing a story, and they're not allowed to do it. They have to do whatever McMahon says they have to do. In WWE, anyway, you get into AEW and Japan, and they're allowed to do their own stories and stuff. Whereas in WWE, it's McMahon and the writers' way, or you're out of here.
Yeah.
Very few of them have any kind of creative freedom to do anything, which sucks because you got some really creative guys, and you know that from when they were wrestling elsewhere, and they get to WWE and they're not allowed to do shit.
Yeah, so I didn't watch it like whenever John Cena and The Rock and stuff, and the only reason I even know them is because they've been in movies and stuff. But it would have been kind of interesting to watch The Rock wrestle and stuff when he was doing it. But he's also hot, so. And every time I think of like the ones like back in the 80s and 90s, first person I even think of half the time is that Dr. Love. I remember him.
Oh God, yeah, he's one of the He's one of the writers, or runs the show actually.
That's like the first thing I think of when I think of wrestling. I don't know why he stuck so much. I mean, he was just weird, and
I'm trying to remember his damn real name right now.
Oh, I was looking at it up earlier.
Yeah, he's Bruce Pritchard. That's his name.
Yeah.
He had a podcast. I don't know if he still does it or not. And then he got rehired to WWE, and then his podcast became a WWE love fest. So, but when he was doing it before, when he wasn't working for them, it was much better. But yeah, he's now in charge of running Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, because I haven't watched it
on paper anyway. He still has to get Vince's approval on everything.
Yeah.
Which is one of the problems, Vince McMahon doesn't want to change. He wants to keep doing everything the same way. Even if it doesn't work, he doesn't care.
I remember him.
Yeah.
But,
he's the owner of the company.
Yeah.
Do it the bosses way or else, right?
I'm trying to think.
Oh, sorry, you were going to say something.
I was just trying to think who else besides, the main ones like Ultimate Warrior and the Rockers and Andre the Giant, and just trying to remember some of the main ones from back then.
I had Hogan Savage,
Roddy Piper.
Steamboat, Jake Roberts.
Which one was it that always brought out the snake?
That was Jake Roberts. Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah, Jake the Snake.
And you had the one feud where Rick Rude had Jake's wife painted on his tights. And Jake went in there and tore them off of him. And left Rude there, make it as a Jaybird. Center of the ring.
I know it was a lot different, like going to and watching, going there and watching the event compared to watching it on TV. But like anything else, it's always different when you're actually there and not watching it on TV. I know there's still a few I'm missing.
There's only 2 people out there still now. They're dropping like flies. Well, it is 12:30 in the morning on the East Coast, so that could be why.
It's probably just me and getting the barbecue.
Yeah, probably. Midnight hasn't said anything for a while. Clover was out there, but he left, I guess.
Yeah. So
his last comment was 10 minutes ago when we were talking about the SIG P210.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go clean up my kitchen here for too long. My daughter made a red velvet cake she's been doing. Kind of getting into, she's more artistic, so she's been trying to do the double layer cakes and do the decorating.
Well, Midnight's still out there, so the counter on StreamYard is wrong.
Yeah. So she's been getting into that. I'm gonna find her some classes she can take for decorating, but they use some of the crumbs that were left over from leveling out the cakes. So they're trying to make cake pops with the rest of the crumbs. And so I'm sure they made a huge mess because it was a disaster in there earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure how well it turned out. We'll see.
Yeah, my wife gets mad whenever our oldest cooks because she doesn't like to clean up after herself. I think she's doing adobo chicken tomorrow night, which, if that's the case, there's going to be a mess that's going to be cleaned up. But if you've never had that, it's a Philippine chicken dish that you serve over rice or with rice. It's really good.
No.
Spicy chicken.
No, we just got one of those Instapot.
Yeah, we got one of those.
Air fryer. It's like a duo.
Mm-hmm.
He's been wanting to get one, and it was on sale stuff. So he tried out the air fryer tonight, but I think he's gonna try and figure out what he wants to try and cook in the Instant Pot. And
they make great rice cookers. Like if you're using the sticky rice, the jasmine sticky rice, if you're doing like something Asian, they're really good for cooking that.
Yeah, well, I was looking on Amazon, so I figure we'll get they have cookbooks just for Instant Pot. But no, he was curious how it would do with, because he likes making, fresh cut fries.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't sure, like, frozen fries, it'd probably be fine, but we weren't sure how well it would do for, fresh cut fries, but they came out really good. So we've been figuring that out this evening.
Apparently Midnight is out there eating pulled pork. As part of his training regimen for the wrestling match of him and Guns and Barbecue versus Kingpin and Rob.
My money's on Midnight and Guns and Barbecue, I think.
Yeah. Well, they got a year to get ready. It's going to be at the next Great American Outdoor Show, which isn't going to be until 2022 because since they canceled next year's.
Apparently, I'm going to have to go.
Yeah. You got to be Sensational Sherry, I believe. So.
Oh yeah, that's what he was talking about. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I forget who they decided that their tag team is, but they need you to be their manager. I think
Okay.
it was Rob and Kingpin that need you to be their manager.
Where was I when all this was getting decided? Was I in there
You
supervising?
weren't here.
Big Pop?
you had just popped in when they said about you being their manager.
Well, apparently I'm going to have to go back on replay because I was in there helping them melt chocolate and
Yeah, because
everything.
apparently Rob and Kingpin are going to be Doom, and to be Doom, they need you to be their manager, and Kingpin has to wear blackface.
Interesting. Okie dokie.
Now we just got to figure out which of them's going to be Butch Reed and which of them's going to be Ron Simmons.
Nice. I'm going to have to watch the replay for sure. So I'm guessing that was before. I'm guessing Rob was here whenever it was all being discussed.
No, Rob wasn't here either. Rob has no idea. Kingpin was doing the negotiating for him.
Wow.
It's been one of those kind of shows.
He's like, oh, okay. Rob is
Yeah,
like, whatever.
The first hour, it was kind of like when Ellis and I usually do the wrestling show. And second hour onward, it's just been a bunch of kookiness. As usual.
Well, that was like when me and Jazz, whenever Armenthea wasn't there and we were doing Gun Gals, and me and Jazz both have squirrel moments and we get off topic and end up God knows where. I mean,
yeah,
we never get on topic.
This has been like the typical Sunday night show, only we were talking about wrestling instead of guns or politics to begin with.
Yeah. Like I said, I missed part of it because I was in there with the girls checking on them, and I'm pretty sure there's red velvet crumbs everywhere.
And Guns and Barbecue says he's looking up a Macho Man Randy Savage costume as we speak.
I'm sure they're out there.
Oh, yeah, I know they are because you see people wearing them. People still dress up in cosplay as Randy Savage at wrestling events in the crowds when they're allowed to have crowds.
Yeah. Do you still watch Mandalorian?
I've never watched a single episode of it.
Really? I figured you'd be all about Mandalorian.
I gave up on Star Wars after The Force Awakens.
Oh. We just got through getting all caught up on what was out.
When Han died, so did Star Wars.
Yeah, I was sad at them.
Yeah, they had you all hyped because you see Han and Chewie and the Falcon, and it's not the stupid prequels, and then they go and kill Han and have his son be the one that did it. Yeah. If you haven't seen The Force Awakens, and I just spoiled it for you, tough shit. That movie's 5 years old. Get over it.
I've seen it all.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they totally just was so hyped to see it, and then the letdown was. So no, I've not seen Leia become Harry Potter, or not Harry Potter, Peter Pan, or any of that bullshit.
Yeah, The Mandalorian's pretty cool. You should watch it.
He's not a true Mandalorian. A true Mandalorian would have left Baby Yoda with the bad guy, and that would have been the end of it. So I don't have to watch The Mandalorian because I hear Gary and Noxus and Sarge and Snob talking about it in the post show every Friday night. So it's like
Snob
I didn't have to watch the Tiger King because those guys did nothing but talk about it incessantly when it was a big
Snob
thing.
has never seen a single episode of Mandalorian.
Okay. Well, the other three talk about it. So.
I'm sure the other three do, but Snob hasn't watched a single episode.
Okay, so he's like me. He hasn't seen it.
So I'm actually surprised because usually, he gets talked into watching them. Like he got talked into watching Tiger King from them. So I'm actually surprised he hasn't watched Mandalorian, but he hasn't. But he wasn't even a Star Wars fan. I don't even remember which one it was, but me and two of the kids met my mom around Christmas time when one of those came out. Also to go watch it. Might have been The Force Awakens. I don't remember. And might have been the one before that. But and stuff. And then my mom has them all, and I started watching, the ones from the 80s and 90s.
Mhm.
And so he'd be in the living room, and he would be in there when I was watching them, and he got into it just from me watching them. And then he started watching them. But he was bound and determined. He wasn't watching Star Wars, but once he's in there, whenever I'm watching it, he kind of gets into it. He's not a big sci-fi person. Just like Walking Dead, I was really shocked he wanted to watch Walking Dead.
I have never watched an episode of that either.
We quit after, I don't know what season it was, but 4 or 5, I don't remember. But we didn't watch any of the other ones. But and I can't remember who it was that got him into wanting to watch it. It might even been one of those radio talk things. Big Bad Morning Show. Might have been, I don't know. But we ended up watching that. But because he's just not a big sci-fi.
Yeah, another one that was popular that I've never watched is Game of Thrones. I never watched an episode of that either.
Yeah, I've never seen him.
No interest.
Yeah, I haven't seen a single episode. So, but I watch sci-fi, but even Twilight Zone, I had no interest in watching that. My mom and my daughter would go watch it in theater, and my sister and stuff. And my mama gave me, I think, the first one, and I had it for probably a year. And one day there was nothing on TV, and I was bored, and I was like, what the heck? I put it in and watched it. And then after I watched it, I had to go borrow all the other ones from her so I can watch them all. Same way with Hunger Games. I think I ended up seeing it on TV.
Now, are you talking about Twilight Zone or Twilight?
No, the actual Twilight.
Okay, not the glittery vampires.
No, the vampires.
Okay, that's just Twilight. Twilight Zone was
Twilight.
the anthology sci-fi thriller thing.
I've seen Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I grew up watching Twilight Zone, the black and white episodes and reruns.
Yeah, just like I was real big into scary movies and stuff. And I don't really watch them now because they're just not very good anymore.
Yes, I've never watched one of the Twilight movies.
Yeah, I had no interest in it and just bored one day, had nothing else to watch, so I figured, well, I'll put it in and see what it's about.
We were at Burger King. When my son was in band, we were going to the one concert that West Virginia University does every year for band students, and I was chaperoning. And we're at the Burger King, and they had the one giveaway contest thing having to do with Twilight, and all us guys are picking on the girls for liking the Twilight crap. And the one girl looks at me and my son and says, "Well, don't you think he's hot?" and points at him. We just look at her like, "Are you out of your goddamn mind?"
Oh, it's funny.
This girl wasn't the smartest person in the world to begin with.
So, kind of like Snob.
Huh?
Kind of like Snob.
Yeah. To hear her ask us if we thought he was hot or not, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Sure enough, she did. Yeah, and everybody else just stood there laughing.
So, what brought up this whole wrestling match between Kingpin and all of them?
I honestly do not remember.
Oh, that's funny.
That came about in the chat. I don't remember how that happened. I just remember it happening.
Funny.
We've been talking about so many different things. I honestly don't remember how we got to that point.
Yeah, I kind of been just on and off. Wonder how they came on their cake pops.
Do you want to know?
No. Not at all. Don't want to see my kitchen either.
Yeah, sometimes it's better not to ask questions that you don't want answered.
Yeah. I haven't heard them yelling my name for help or questions or anything, so guess they survived it.
Mom, the goat's on fire.
Yeah. They're both pretty good at cooking because, like, she'll cook a lot of our meals and stuff. Cody can cook a lot of her meals, but she would rather bake. She likes to bake and decorate and be kind of artistic. So we're gonna give her this whole cake decorating kit off Amazon.
Contract signing at my house. Bad enough you guys want me to do the Mean Gene Okra thing. How the hell did I get
You had the chat.
get involved in it other than that? Jeez.
You were on the panel.
No, not Rob wasn't on the panel, and he got suckered into actually being in the match. I already had a role. How do I get to oversee the contract signing too? I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Maybe because I'm closest. I don't know.
maybe.
Well, Kingpin ain't that far either. You could do the signing at Kingpin's house.
Where's the Guns and Barbecue at? Is he in Pennsylvania
He's
too?
in PA.
And Midnight's in PA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, that's an advantage they got over Rob and Kingpin.
They're a little closer to each other.
Yeah, they're at least in the same state. Kingpin's in Maryland and Rob's in New York.
Yeah, I'm definitely have to listen to the chat later.
Joke's on you, Guns on Barbecue. I don't have a kitchen table.
I have a kitchen table.
Okay. Contract signing at Mystic's house.
It's probably covered in red velvet crumbs.
You four got to make your way out to Oklahoma.
Well, see, I was smart. I bought a new kitchen table, but I know how messy my kids are. So it's got like the clear plastic tablecloth that goes over it. That way they can't,
Jeez, now he's assuming I have a workbench. I don't have one of them either. I don't have anywhere to put one.
Guess you can always use someone's back. I mean, you don't need a table or hard surface. Just have someone bend over, use their back.
Nah, because then when they get mad, you end up with a pen stuck in your back.
It's not going to be my back, so I don't care. They're only about 4 hours apart, 5 hours tops.
Who, Midnight and Guns and Barbecue or Rob and Kingpin?
Guns and Barbecue at midnight, I think. I guess that's what he's talking about.
I don't know. He can't be talking about me because he doesn't know where I live. I live in West Virginia, but he doesn't know where. That's if you remember to live in West Virginia.
Fine, well, we'll spend $30 on a plastic table.
Well, if you want to go that route, I have a patio table. Rob and Kingpin could be the Dudleys. Yeah, they could do that, and then we don't need Mystic at all. Unless she's going to be Elizabeth if you're still doing the Hogan and Savage thing. They can't make up their minds what team they're being. So.
Well, they have time to figure it out.
Yeah, because, I mean, he said he's looking up Randy Savage things, and then says he's going to be Rikishi, so I don't know. And do the stink face, which was one of his moves.
Surprised I'm actually getting kind of tired.
4 to 5 hours from midnight. Good Lord, I'm closer to midnight than he is. It's only about 3 hours to get there from here. That should give you an idea if you know.
Well, it would take a lot more than a few hours to get to me.
Yeah. Take a day.
I think it was like 17 or 18 hours when we were going to try and go to DC.
Uh-huh.
Last one they had.
Yeah.
I think it was like 18 hours.
Something like that. You guys were going to come here, spend the night here, and then we were going to go down, and then you guys were going to drop me off and then head home.
Yeah, because we were going to stay where we can have our guns.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't want to stay in DC. But 30 minutes south of Erie or 1 to 5 hours north of.
So you're up near Meadville area?
Last I heard, my ex-husband was, well, he moved to Pennsylvania somewhere. I'm guessing he's still in Pennsylvania. He's not in California, so I'm guessing he's probably still in Pennsylvania. I just don't know where.
Yeah, he said, I guess that's supposed to be a yep.
That stupid real ID crap. Oh, so frustrated with that real ID.
Why?
Because my license expired October 31st. So I had to go get it this year. So I figured I might as well do the real ID. I might have to do the compliant one. They said, well, I have to bring my marriage license. Okay, whatever. Brought my marriage license. Apparently, I have to have my marriage license from Las Vegas. I have to have any name change I've ever had. So if you've been married, 4 times, you have to bring 4 marriage license if you change your name. So I couldn't get it that day, and I had to go online, go to Las Vegas, and order it, wait for it to come in, and then go in there and get the real ID, and then it takes 2 to 6 weeks to get here.
Yeah, that would be a pain in the rear end. But yeah, he says his hometown is Meadville, and he lives in Sagertown. Okay.
You're pretty right on about whereabouts he was.
That was north of where I grew up. I grew up in Pittsburgh, and we used to go up to Pymatooning and Conneaut, which isn't far from Meadville. So I know the area.
I don't know anything about it. Never been there.
Yeah, my stepfather's parents had a cottage up in Pymatuning, right, like a couple miles from the lake up there. So we would go, and then you go one way, you would go to Pymatuning Lake, and the other way you would go to Conneaut Lake, which was an amusement park.
Yeah. Indiana's about the furthest I've been east.
They used to have a eagle reserve or preserve up there on Pymatuning, and you'd see bald eagles flying everywhere, huge nests and stuff. Yeah, Pymatuning where ducks walk on fish's back, the fish being carp, huge carp. They got this spillway, and it became a tourist attraction to go there and feed the carp and ducks bread. So you got all kinds of carp there, and then the ducks just walk right across their backs because they can't get in the waters. The carp are so thick that the ducks literally, if they want to get anything, have to walk across the carp. It's one of the craziest sights you'd ever want to see.
I remember this place it's in Indiana. I don't even remember what it's called, but it was an amusement park. And it was only like $2 to get in because it was like Bell was here. You pay $2 to go in, and then if you wanted to go on the rides, you just bought tickets. It had a water park, and it's right off a river. And it has like these little feeding things, whatever, but you can go get like this fish food, and there'll be like a million. I mean, I can't, catfish just all there because everybody gets that fish food from that machine and feeds them and stuff. And there's never seen so much catfish in my life. I mean, you can literally just get a net and probably catch 20 of them.
Yeah. Guns and Barbecue says Conneaut Lake Park is in bankruptcy. That sucks. My stepfather, for a while, decided he wanted to get into the multi-level marketing thing. So, in addition to his job to make extra money, he was working for Amway. And every year, the Amway work picnic was at Conneaut Lake. So we went up to, so we got discounted tickets and stuff to go there every year. My grandfather's was at a park in Pittsburgh that's not there anymore. They tore it down when they redid the Pittsburgh International Airport and made it bigger. It was called White Swan. It was a little park, but it was fun, and that's where my grandfather's work picnic was every year. And when they tore that down, they started having a Kennywood Park, which again is just outside Pittsburgh. One of the oldest amusement parks in the country. There's roller coasters there that date back to the early 1900s.
It'd be cool. Well, I think I might get off here and go check on my kitchen.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to close it down anyway. We're going on 1 o'clock here. So he says they're trying to save it, but it's not looking good. Yeah, and Peter Frampton, man, he used to play there all the time. We saw Peter Frampton at Conneaut Lake. But anything you want to plug or anything before we get out of here?
Watch Gizzard Gary in the morning and watch your show tomorrow night. Your 100th show.
Yep.
Other than that, no.
Okie dokie. Yep. Since she already plugged my show, I don't have to. It'll be on this channel at around, I think we're going to go at 8 tomorrow. Hopefully everybody remembers that and is on time. Because with it being 100, I want to make sure we have time to do whatever I got planned. I don't even know what I got planned yet, but I'll have something planned.
In other words, it's whatever time he pushes the button.
It's usually the way it works. If people would be prompt and on time when I send the links out, it would, just saying.
Hey, in my case, it's It's good to be fashionably late.
I pushed the time back because everybody was always a half hour late, and now they're wanting to be another half hour late. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Hey, I was usually somewhat on time. Not Kingpin, especially if he's watching Scotsman or on Scotsman's show. He may show up, he may not. Just depends.
Yeah, I told him earlier he better show up on time tomorrow. Or is it really even tomorrow at this point?
I got 2 minutes till tomorrow.
I got tomorrow already, so we're almost an hour into tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. I'm almost there.
So anyway, on that note, we'll bid you all adieu for tonight. Get to bed, you losers, and we'll see you tonight or tomorrow, depending on which part of the country you're in. Bye-bye.
Night, everyone.
And Guns and Barbecue says tomorrow is today. Exactly.
Not in the real time.